Chapter 1662. Yama Lord couldn't help but laugh. She said, "You seem to be dissatisfied with the benefits? What's wrong with being a pawn? Do you know how many living beings in this universe don't even have the chance to become a pawn? They're like dust and ants disappearing without a trace." She was right. That Huang Hai was just a small soul demon tens of thousands of years ago. Without my guidance, do you think he could have made it to this day? As for that Imperial Fiend Celestial, isn't he the same? Without my instructions, they would have reincarnated countless times already. How could they be Fiend Celestials? As for their efforts to become Fiend Celestials, in my opinion, it's not worth mentioning. To let them have such a wonderful life and become nourishment for the Pangu axe is already the best way for them to end up. Wang Feng couldn't refute Yama Lord's words. Especially her words. It was as if she was standing on the clouds and saying those words from an extremely high angle. He had to admit that Yama Lord's words made some sense. The indifference and calmness in her words towards life must be an existence that had experienced countless storms in the universe to be able to say such words. With your wisdom, could it be that you can't see that the so-called weak are at the mercy of others? Isn't this a matter of course? Yama Lord said, most of the weak don't even have the right to be manipulated. In the endless conflicts of the universe, they've become dust without knowing it. Wang Feng nodded slowly. You're right. The weak were indeed like that. That Imperial Fiend Celestial couldn't even see that. Yama Lord's face was extremely calm. He thought that by freeing his Fiend Celestial, he could earn a trace of dignity for himself. In fact, he doesn't know how stupid his actions are in my opinion. If his Fiend Celestial becomes nourishment for the Pangu axe, when the Pangu axe recovers, he can even become a wisp of the Pangu axe's soul if he calms down and comprehends it. His future is limitless. Unfortunately, the most stupid thing about a pawn is not that he doesn't understand his situation. It's that he thinks he understands his situation. She seemed to be implying something. She was referring to Wang Feng. You want me to use the Pangu axe to help you break the other shackles of this palace? Wang Feng said slowly with an expressionless face. You're not helping me, you're helping yourself. You're trapped here. If you don't want to reincarnate, you have to break all the shackles of this palace. Only then will you be able to open the passageway to that world. At the same time, use the water of the reincarnation well to reconstruct your soul and condense it. Only then can you leave this place. Otherwise, you will be trapped here forever. However, as soon as she finished speaking, Wang Feng sneered, "Why should I believe you?" If he was not mistaken, these shackles should contain demonic energy that contained the will of the universe, right? The 3 traces of devil chi that Mo Tiance obtained back then should have come from these shackles? There were 9 shackles on the door. However, Wang Feng could only see 6. In other words, the first 3 doors had either disappeared or had been broken. Moreover, there was a trace of demonic energy seeping out of the 6th shackle after Wang Feng had used all his strength to split it open, and it was directly absorbed by the Yama King. What you've said is just an excuse. Wang Feng shook his head. Besides, even if you enter the reincarnation well, whether you can leave or not is not up to you. The Yama King frowned slightly. You want the demonic energy? The Yama King looked at Wang Feng, his face still calm. You are extraordinarily greedy. Although the demonic energy contains the will of the universe, it is an incomplete will. It is useless to you. Wang Feng smiled. How do you know it's useless? Huh. The Yama King looked at Wang Feng. You have a good plan. Wang Feng took 2 steps forward. You divided the demon god of Huang Hai into 6 parts and sealed them outside the Styx waterfall. That Red Fox Supreme happened to be in one of the traces of demonic consciousness. You knew that I would definitely run into Crimson Fox Supreme and learn some information about the will of the universe from him. In the end, the demon god of Huang Hai left me a message, telling me that you obtained his demonic energy. Through all this, you thought that I would also know that the incomplete will of the universe is far more harmful than beneficial. So, you can righteously absorb the demonic energy. Wang Feng looked at the Yama King and continued, if I'm not mistaken, you left the last message and explanation behind, right? The demon god of Huang Hai was unwilling to give up, so he added a few more words. In your opinion, if I am in that position in the end, the demon god of Huang Hai will be a dead man. Therefore, his words after his demonic soul was devoured are reasonable. And I won't have too many doubts. All of these details are so that when I come here, you can use me legitimately, and I won't be able to resist or disobey you. After Wang Feng finished speaking, there was silence for a long time. Obviously, the Yama King knew that he would come to this world. He didn't even know how long the plan was in advance. The Yama King was also silent for a long time. Your plan is very clever. Wang Feng said slowly, however, I don't know if I should call you the Yama King or the Genesis demonic source. Speaking of this, Wang Feng paused and said, or the system? The Yama King smiled. Wang Feng was familiar with the smile but also unfamiliar. It was familiar because Wang Feng was very familiar with this body. It was unfamiliar because the meaning of this smile was very strange. Wang Feng didn't say anything. He was very sure of all this. When he was still in the Douluo world, he thought that the system was just a cheat. But as he became stronger and reached higher realms, how could he not have any doubts about the system? Especially when he had just entered the dark demon world and saw the pattern of the Pangu axe left behind by the demon god Dai in the Yunhai Sea. He vaguely guessed some of the system's secret. It was just that he couldn't be sure. But after entering the soul world, especially after learning about and seeing the Yama King's series of arrangements and the reincarnation well, Wang Feng knew that this Yama King must have a lot to do with the system. As for thinking that the other party was the Genesis demonic source, it was because of the current situation. If what the other party said was true, then the Yama King must be a life form derived from the Genesis demonic source. Just like Shiyu in the reincarnation sea. Because only the Genesis demonic source could let him leave this place. What else have you thought of? Why don't you tell me? The Yama King said with a smile. Wang Feng pondered for a moment and looked at the door. Before coming, even without the primordial origin, he had a lot of speculations about everything that had happened. With the assistance of the primordial origin source, many speculations gradually came together. There were countless speculations in his mind, but he didn't care. At this moment, Wang Feng slowly said it out. End of this chapter. Chapter 1663. This palace, as well as the shackles on it, should have been passively created. The well of reincarnation is inside, and the creator devil origin is the heavenly Tao of the dark devil world. However, it was sealed by this palace, and it was sealed by the will of the universe. As the creator devil origin, you were furious. The well of reincarnation was sealed, which meant that you lost control of the dark devil world when it was just born. Therefore, the dark devil world was just a newly born world, and it was still fusing with the other 8 devil domains. And you wanted to open this palace, regain control of the well of reincarnation, and let the dark devil world return to its original path. Therefore, the first target you found was the ancestor devil, Mo Tiance. Wang Feng closed his eyes, and his words were shocking. The ancestor devil, Mo Tiance, was a legendary existence in history. This ancestor devil first unified the 8 devil domains in the dark devil world, and in order to find the well of reincarnation, he sacrificed himself. This was equivalent to an emperor standing at the pinnacle of the world committing suicide for an illusory thing. He was even more impressive than Qin Shi Huang. Qin Shi Huang only wanted immortality. However, Mo Tiance wanted to find the well of reincarnation. One had to know that the well of reincarnation was a legend in that era. Wang Feng didn't believe that Mo Tiance did it willingly. In Wang Feng's opinion, Emotiant's steeds were the same as his. They were simply cheating. The dark devil world in ancient times was desolate and bleak. The soul demons back then weren't strong. Before the dark devil world unified the 8 devil domains, it might not even be stronger than the Douluo world. However, he could easily unify the 8 devil domains. 8 devil domains. Unifying the 8 devil domains and integrating the dark devil world. This made the dark devil world stronger than the god world. Wang Feng wouldn't believe that Emotiant's didn't have any tricks up his sleeves. When Wang Feng first heard of Emotiant's steeds, he felt that Emotiant's definitely had some sort of system or cheat. Emotiant's actions were similar to his. You helped Emotiant's unify the 8 devil domains and establish the dark devil world, making this world stronger. This way, as the creator devil origin, the dark devil world's heavenly Tao would naturally be stronger. You will have enough power to break the shackles on this palace. Wang Feng continued, your ultimate goal is to open the door to the samsara well. Therefore, you sent Emotiant's to the reincarnation well. He couldn't resist you, so he had to come to this world, and found this place. At the same time, with Emotiant's ability, he was able to open the first 3 shackles. However, Emotiant's had already reached the pinnacle of this world at that time. As a chess piece, he had his own ideas. After he broke the shackles, he discovered that these shackles contained the will of the universe that could allow him to break through to a higher realm. He is out of your control. Moreover, he swallowed these 3 strands of demonic chi without your permission. This is far beyond your expectations. That's because the demonic chi in the shackles is very important to you. This point explained why he had only just severed his 6th shackle with the Panguak. The Yama Lord couldn't wait to absorb it. He definitely didn't want to suffer the same loss a second time. And you were obviously careless. This is your first time controlling a chess piece like this. I think you should have given him the ability to return to the Dark Demon Realm at that time. Following Wang Feng's words, the smile on the Yama Lord's face gradually disappeared. In the end, he became expressionless. There was a very obvious process of change. After obtaining the demonic chi, Emotiant's wanted to escape from your control and was also afraid of your revenge. Therefore, he destroyed many of his deeds in the Dark Demon Realm. As a result, the soul demons in the Dark Demon Realm only have a superficial understanding of Emotiant's. After that, you began to rearrange your plans in the Dark Demon Realm. The more Wang Feng spoke, the clearer his mind became. With the primordial origin, his analysis was even more meticulous and detailed. He connected everything that had happened to him before he came to the Dark Demon World and everything that had happened in the Dark Demon World. At this time, there was a crucial point. When Emotiant's returned to the Dark Demon Realm, he used the overflowing seawater from the Soul Cleansing Sea to build a nether river in the Dark Demon Realm. At the same time, he hid the first strand of demonic chi in the nether river. I think his goal was to use this strand of demonic chi to restrain you. Moreover, he had left behind a backup plan. When he becomes an even more powerful universe-level life form, he can return to the Dark Demon sector and deal with you, the world creation devil source who once used him as a pawn, devouring its master, because as long as that strand of devil chi moves, it's definitely caused by you, the Genesis devil essence. As for you, you know that Emotiant's, who has obtained 2 strands of devil chi and escaped from the dark devil realm, is not easy to deal with. That's why you haven't touched the devil chi in the nether river. Otherwise, with your identity as the heavenly Tao of the dark devil world, how could a mere river Styx possibly stop you? You've already obtained that devil chi. Before you have absolute confidence, you won't touch the devil chi in the nether river. Therefore, that strand of devil chi will definitely be obtained by you in the end. Wang Feng suddenly smiled and slowly said, I believe that when you found out that I had come to the dark devil world, you would have been surprised. You're planning to come to this world and make arrangements. But you never expected that I would run into the Nether River so quickly and overturn it. No, to be precise, you should have thought of it. As a system, you would be able to predict everything that happened to me in the Douluo world. In that case, you must have known that Hulaina came to the Dark Devil world and obtained the favor of the Scarlet Fox Heavenly God clan. Therefore, you must have also guessed that I obtained the Scarlet God Heavenly Fox's God-forbidden space in Scarlet Hill in the Azure Sun Devil region. Or rather, you've already calculated all of this, because only the God-forbidden space can take in the river Styx and obtain that strand of Devil Chi. And I, who obtained the Devil Chi, would definitely bring this strand of Devil Chi to the Well of Reincarnation as you, Yama, went to search for the Well of Reincarnation. What you didn't expect was that one of the chess pieces that wasn't that important to you, the demon god Huang Hai, would launch an attack. When you left, the demon god Huang Hai joined forces with the other two demon gods to launch an attack. It's the same as emotience. After reaching the level of a demon god, one would always want to pry into a higher realm. Furthermore, you're making arrangements as Yama, and not as the Genesis Devil Essence or the system. At this point, Wang Feng suddenly laughed. Emotience betrayed you and made you think that this might be the reason why you didn't appear before. You thought that you weren't a good person, which led to this chess piece turning against you. Therefore, you turned into Yama and used your true identity as a soul demon to nurture demon gods. In that case, these pawns that you nurtured as fiend celestials will be completely under your control. Unfortunately, you still underestimated the ambition of the demon gods. The demon god Huang Hai escaped from your control and obtained that strand of Devil Chi. After knowing this, you were furious. You thought that the demon god Huang Hai might be the second emotiant. Unfortunately, the demon god Huang Hai's luck wasn't good. He knew that you were in this world, so he didn't want to come. However, he was still killed by an expert. To teach Huang Hai a lesson, you didn't kill him directly. Instead, you divided the demon god Huang Hai's soul into 6 parts and sealed them. You were waiting for my arrival. However, your second chess piece wasn't me. Wang Feng started to recall the demon god Dai. Then who was it? Yama asked a rare question. It was the demon god Dai. Wang Feng said, because the demon god Dai knew about the Pangu axe. Moreover, if I guessed correctly, he should have possessed the Pangu axe for a short period of time. At the very least, he had seen it before and even possessed part of the Pangu axe's remnant soul. However, the demon god Dai wasn't a soul demon of the dark demon world. Because of emotience, you were careful. After using Yama's identity to investigate, you found that the demon god Dai wasn't very good. Because the demon god Dai came to the dark demon world to break through to a higher realm. You couldn't give him that. He returned to the divine world, but unfortunately, there were obviously people in the divine world who had your people. That you should be of the same origin as you. And a useless chess piece is a scourge to you. Because of emotience, you wanted to kill the demon god Dai. Therefore, you asked Shiyu to inform the gods of the divine world to kill the demon god Dai when he returned to the divine world. Otherwise, at that time, I still didn't understand why the demon god Dai would be killed by the gods of the divine world in the void domain so obviously when he returned to the divine world. The demon god Dai wouldn't be so stupid as to make a big fuss if he wanted to return to the divine world. Therefore, it could only be your doing secretly. It's just that before the demon god Dai died, he felt that he couldn't just die like this. He knew that after you succeeded him, you would definitely use the remnant soul of the Pangu axe to find a new chess piece. Plus, you knew about the Pangu axe. Therefore, he secretly left a key trick for me in the God Burial Blood Tomb in the Void Domain to let me know about the Genesis God Source in advance, which is the key existence of Shiyu. When Wang Feng met the demon God Burial Blood Tomb and heard the sigh and helplessness left by the other party's soul, he felt that things weren't so simple. At that time, the soul of the demon god Dai told him that he had finally arrived. At that time, Wang Feng was very shocked. The demon god Dai was waiting for him? How did he know him? Later, he realized that he didn't know him, but knew that his chess piece with the remnant soul of the Pangu axe had arrived. The Dai demon god was unwilling to give up. The supreme treasure that he had mentioned at that time was not the origin source star core that he had been looking for, which was also the Genesis divine source. It was the well of reincarnation. The last step he wanted him to see clearly was not how to break the star soul road. But through his own affairs, he understood Shi Yu and Yen Lord. But I think, in fact, the actions of the demon god Dai should have been within your expectations. When the demon god Dai died, his soul didn't return to the reincarnation sea. Shi Yu must have sensed it. Wang Feng said calmly in one breath. You expected it, so naturally you wouldn't let the demon god Dai see through it so easily. Therefore, Shi Yu made up another set of stories, and through the news of the Qianrenxue, she let me make a deal with her. At the same time, she could also lead me to the dark demon realm, and justifiably come to you, the Genesis God Source. So, at that time, I couldn't have sensed anything strange at all. It was a pity for the demon god Dai. He wanted to let him know, but unfortunately, Yen Lord and Shi Yu couldn't let the demon god Dai do it so easily. They were standing on the commanding heights. How could the demon god Dai's small actions escape their eyes? Speaking of this, Wang Feng stopped. Clap, 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 clap. Yen Lord clapped his hands. Chapter 1664. The clapping was as if Yama Lord had completely acknowledged what Wang Feng had said. However, Wang Feng knew that this Yama Lord was not that simple. Anything else? After clapping, Yama Lord's expression was calm, but his eyes were full of praise. You want to hear more? Wang Feng said. Then can I assume that most of what I said is right? So what if it is, so what if it isn't? Yama Lord smiled. Don't forget your current situation. Yes, his current situation. Wang Feng was silent for a moment and said slowly, Actually, there are a few things that I don't quite understand. First, after Dai died, you obtained the remnant soul of Pangu Axe and a part of Dai's origin energy. And you gave it to me. What I'm curious about is, since you have the remnant soul of Pangu Axe, why don't you use it directly? Instead, you need to cultivate a chess piece to use it? With your identity as the embodiment of the dark demon world's heavenly Tao, it should be much easier for you to repair the remnant soul of Pangu Axe than it is for me, right? Apart from that, other than the Chaos Lotus Martial Soul, I can understand most of the other things you gave me. How did you get the chaotic green Lotus Martial Soul? After entering the magical machine era, the dark demon world was connected to many worlds through wormholes. There were countless names on the All Heavens Sacred World board. There must be worlds that Wang Feng was familiar with, but they were called different in the dark demon world. However, the Chaos Lotus Martial Soul was different. It was a Genesis Lotus before the Chaos world was separated. It was a world that had not been formed yet. What puzzled Wang Feng the most was that after Dai died, the remnant soul of Pangu Axe was obviously in Yama Lord's body. Why didn't she repair it herself? Why did she have to go through so much trouble to cultivate a chess piece? Unless Yama Lord was not a system. However, if she was not, then his previous deduction was completely wrong. This was unlikely. You want to know? Yama Lord said indifferently, I can give you a hint, Eternal Godslayer. A light flashed across Wang Feng's mind. Eternal Godslayer. When he obtained Eternal Godslayer, he had spent countless years in the chaos before the ancestral realm was formed. It was also at that time that he comprehended the primordial origin. Could it be that primal chaos world was originally the world where the chaotic green lotus was located? Thinking of this, Wang Feng took a deep breath. Could it be that the ancestral realm was the primeval world that should have been born? That's not right. That was not right. How could the great desolate world still be in a state of chaos at that time? Absolutely impossible. Since you're able to deduce so much on your own, let me tell you about it. The Yama Master paused in midair and said calmly, in your memory, both the Pangu axe and the chaotic green lotus came from the primeval world that you are familiar with. In fact, countless initial wheels ago, that world had already been destroyed in the universe calamity and universe annihilation. The heavenly Tao and sages had all perished in the countless universe calamities. After Devil God Dai came to the dark devil world, he went to countless worlds. He was fortunate enough to reach that already destroyed great desolate world. The reincarnation of the universe, the annihilation of the world. The mythical primeval world that you are familiar with is just a piece of nothingness and chaos. When the heavens and earth were created, everything returned to the beginning. Although that world had already been destroyed, after countless initial wheels, it slowly evolved back into the initial state of chaos. Devil God Dai was fortunate enough to obtain the remnant soul of the Pangu Axe martial spirit in that world. Like you, he lived in that primeval world for an endless period of time. Unfortunately, he didn't make a breakthrough and didn't study the power of the remnant soul of the Pangu Axe. Not every chess piece is as lucky as you. Helpless, he returned to the dark devil world and told me. The Yama Master's indifferent tone told Wang Fengxin everything that had happened. The great desolate world was destroyed? This, after I arrived, that primeval world happened to give birth to this green lotus. Unfortunately, this green lotus was only a remnant soul in the primeval world after it was destroyed. If I wanted to restore it, I don't know how long it would take. Naturally, I couldn't stay in that primeval world for that long. After I took away the remnant soul of the green lotus, I knew that this green lotus contained endless potential. Thus, I had the idea of using this object to create a second chess piece. If you want to ask me why I didn't cultivate this green lotus myself, the reason is very simple. Although this green lotus is a remnant soul, it is a supreme treasure of the universe. It doesn't recognize me, nor does it recognize a soul demon like me. The Yama Master said indifferently, just like how the remnant soul of the Pangu Axe didn't recognize Devil God Dai. He couldn't use 1/10 of the power of the Pangu Axe martial spirit in his entire life. It was even more difficult to repair it. But at that time, he was my only hope. Because I knew that once the remnant soul of the Pangu Axe martial spirit was repaired, it would be enough to split open the will shackles of this palace. Wang Feng frowned slightly. According to the Yama Master, did the primeval green lotus and Pangu Axe martial spirit recognize him? Why? He was just an ordinary person on Earth in his previous life, not a person from that primeval world. Earth was not a primeval world. At most, it was a parallel universe. Wait, according to the Yama Master, it seemed that I missed something? Devil God Dai was lucky to obtain the remnant soul of the Pangu Axe martial spirit, but the Yama Master took the primeval green lotus by force. The Yama Master said that Devil God Dai couldn't use 1/10 of the power of the Pangu Axe martial spirit in his entire life. That meant that Devil God Dai could use the power of the Pangu Axe martial spirit, but not much? The Yama Master couldn't use the primeval green lotus at all. Why could Devil God Dai use even a little of the power of the Pangu Axe martial spirit? Origin Tribulation Divine King. Wang Feng slowly spat out these words. That's right. That's him. The Yama Master nodded slightly. You naturally can't have anything to do with the primeval world. But this Origin Tribulation Divine King is the only human who survived the destruction of the primeval world. Wang Feng was silent for a moment and said softly, the Great Tao is 50, the heavenly evolution is 49, and man escapes 1. The Yama Master's eyes lit up slightly. Although this came from your previous life, it does contain the philosophy of the universe. The Origin Tribulation Divine King was originally an ordinary human in the primeval world. If he was in that world, the great Tao was 50, and the heavenly evolution was 49, his final achievement would be just like that. But man escapes one. Perhaps no one in the primeval world would have thought that after countless primeval tribulations in the universe, this human survived and became the only variable. After the origin tribulation, Divine King survived. He went through hardships in the universe and became a universe-level life form. A universe-level life form corresponds to the saint that you know. Of course, different universe laws and billions of different worlds have different understandings of the existence of this realm. The name of this realm is also very different. Unfortunately, although the origin tribulation Divine King survived, he eventually became a universe-level life form. But he wanted to rebuild the primeval world. The origin that he comprehended was almost all for the sake of rebuilding the primeval world. At this point, Wang Feng understood a little. Chapter 1665. After the birth of the ancestral realm, Wang Feng originally planned to use the sixth origin of Origin Tribulation Supreme Being, which was the Void Origin, to replace those void life forms with pure souls. When they were born in the ancestral realm, they would become the first batch of life forms. Now that he thought about it, a few of Origin Tribulation Supreme Being's origins were indeed comprehended to rebuild a new world. Not to mention others, the first origin that controlled the heavenly Tao lightning calamity was especially special. Although he didn't have time to comprehend the sixth origin before he self-destructed with emotiance, it didn't stop Wang Feng from comprehending the 7 great origins of Origin Tribulation Supreme Being. Origin Tribulation Supreme Being was looking for an opportunity to rebuild the Chaos Universe. This might be the mission he gave himself. To rebuild the Chaos Universe, he needed to find the Chaos World that was formed after the destruction of the Chaos Universe. He wasn't that lucky and didn't find it. After exhausting countless years, he is already powerless in front of the new initial wheel cataclysm. In the afterglow of his life, he came to the Divine World. In the Divine World, he went into seclusion for a while. He was probably thinking about what would happen after his death. That was why Demon God Dai appeared. He wasn't willing to die in front of the Genesis tribulation. It wasn't easy for him to become the only survivor of the Chaos Universe. He wasn't willing to face the same fate as the Chaos Universe. Therefore, at the final juncture of his life, he turned into 2 life forms and removed all of his origins. Then, as an ordinary soul, he entered the reincarnation sea and reincarnated, successfully avoiding the Genesis tribulation. At this point, Wang Fengxin's heart skipped a beat. Wait a minute, this was similar to what Shiyu had said. Could it be that what Shiyu said wasn't fabricated? Wang Feng clearly remembered what Shiyu said. The reason why the Origin Tribulation God King reincarnated in the Soul Realm was because he wanted to make a bet with Shiyu. He wanted to use his identity as the soul of the God Realm to ascend to the peak and control Shiyu, the Genesis Divine Source. But Wang Feng felt that it was too ridiculous. Origin Tribulation Supreme Being wasn't a fool. Why would he make such a bet? He already knew that it was fabricated. But now that he heard Yen Lord's words, he couldn't find any possibility of it being fabricated. Yen Lord and Shiyu said that the outcome was almost the same. Origin Tribulation Supreme Being reincarnated in the Reincarnation Sea. However, the reason was different. When a normal soul reincarnates, everything will disappear. Even his memories will disappear, never to be recovered. However, his soul was still a life form of the great desolate world. It was the same for the reincarnated ones. That's why you came. You are not the reincarnation of Origin Tribulation Deity King. Rather, it was the person to whom his soul was entrusted. You were able to transmigrate to the Douluo world because of him. To put it simply, you weren't originally my chess piece, but the Origin Tribulation God King's chess piece. The Yama Master smiled and said, What's more interesting is that the souls from another world were among the people who transmigrated here. To tell the truth, you and I couldn't tell which of you was the chess piece chosen by the Origin Tribulation God King. This was because it couldn't be seen from the soul level. The Origin Tribulation God King had completely erased his soul and reincarnated as a pure and ordinary soul. Not a single trace can be seen. So, I waited quietly. After 6 years passed in the Douluo world, Sia and I finally confirmed that you are the person chosen by the Origin Tribulation God King's soul and not that Tang San. Wang Feng. So, the system awakened when I was 6 years old? How did you know? Wang Feng asked after holding it in for a long time. The Origin Tribulation God King was also a sentimental person. When you were 6 years old, you wanted to marry several wives. Although the Origin Tribulation God King's soul had completely disappeared, he was still a God King after all. No matter how pure his soul was, there would still be some small traces. Therefore, it was impossible for his soul to choose Tang San. He could only choose you, a guy whose soul was very compatible with his. Wang Feng. F***ck, is that so? Wang Fengxin broke out in cold sweat. Of course, not all. The Yama Master continued. Before you transmigrated to the Douluo world, I found out about your world and did a lot of research on that world. I found that the legends of the Great Desolate World were also circulating on that earth, and the Great Desolate World was described as incomparably powerful. At that time, I knew that this was most likely a mark made by the Origin Tribulation God King. You should know that with his ability when he was alive, he could change the rules of Earth at will. Just a little bit of the Earth civilization, any knowledge would become the inspiration of countless humans, and they would create everything about the Great Desolate World. With the story of the Great Desolate World civilization, his soul would be able to accurately reincarnate in this world. At the same time, this chosen guy would not have any rejection of the Great Desolate World and would be very familiar with it. The hindrance to his subsequent plans would be greatly reduced. Wang Feng, the Origin Tribulation God King, had his plans. I also had my own plans. Your previous deduction had always ignored the existence of the Origin Tribulation God King because you were the one chosen by the Origin Tribulation God King's soul, which would greatly affect your analysis of the Origin Tribulation God King. Therefore, you are a remnant of the Great Desolate World. Naturally, only you can use the Chaos Green Lotus and Panguak. This is the reason why you're still here. After the Yama Master finished speaking, he quietly looked at Wang Feng. Wang Feng was silent. He used the primordial origin to calculate and deduce the Yama Master's words one by one, and he could not find any loopholes. Of course, there were some. For example, the Yama Master said that the Great Desolate World had been destroyed. But Wang Feng had never seen such a thing himself, and he could not deny it. The Origin Tribulation God King once told Sia this. Otherwise, he would not have transformed into two gods in the God realm. And these two gods, to put it bluntly, existed for the person his soul chose to reincarnate. They also existed to inherit his power and rebuild the Great Desolate World. Dai was not my chess piece, he was the Origin Tribulation God King's chess piece from the beginning. Because he was created by the Origin Tribulation God King. He could use some of the Pangu Axe's power because of this. Unfortunately, he is not you. His purpose in coming to the Dark Demon Realm was to break through to a higher level of power and to escape the identity of a chess piece. But he did not know that everything he had was given to him by the Origin Tribulation God King. Why do you think he returned to the God realm later? He wanted to kill the other god that the Origin Tribulation God King had transformed into. The Yama Master sneered. At that time, he could use a very small part of the Pangu Axe's power, so naturally, he had a chance to kill this god. As long as he could kill this god, the Origin Tribulation God King's power would never be combined. You, unable to obtain the complete legacy of the origin tribulation God King, want to rebuild the great desolate world, want to repair the Pangu Axe and Chaos Green Lotus. All of that is a joke. Wang Feng's pupils shrank, everything seemed to be clearly displayed in his mind. Chapter 1666. Wang Feng closed his eyes and pondered. To a certain extent, Yama Lord was a great help to him as a system. Without the system, he might have turned into a pile of dirt and would only be able to live the rest of his life in the Douluo world. She interfered with the origin tribulation God King's plan, but she didn't affect it too much. Otherwise, the system wouldn't have given him the Dark Angel Martial Soul, which was the origin power of Demon God Dai. If Yama Lord wanted to destroy the origin tribulation God King's plan, she just didn't give him the Dark Angel Martial Soul after Demon God Dai died. Then, the origin tribulation God King might not even appear in Wang Feng's knowledge, and he would have followed the system's guidance to come to the Dark Demon world earlier. In fact, as the creator demon source of the heavenly Tao, when it turned into Yama Lord, the origin tribulation God King should have been split into two gods. Xie should have told Yama Lord about the subsequent events. You should be glad, Yama Lord said, glad that when the origin tribulation God King was still around, the dark demon world hadn't entered the era of magical machines and there weren't so many wormholes. Otherwise, if he found the chaos world formed by the destruction of countless Genesis wheels through the wormholes in the dark demon world, he would have been able to find the chaos world. Once he finds the Pangu Axe and the Chaos Green Lotus, he can quickly repair himself. Then, he can split open the chaos world and rebuild the primordial world. Then there's nothing for you to do. Wang Feng didn't refute. Yama Lord was telling the truth, just not as much as before. What's your relationship with Xie? Wang Feng asked. Why do you want to know this? But since you want to know, there's no harm in telling you. Yama Lord paused for a few seconds and said, Our relationship is simple. We were competitors, then became partners of the heavenly Tao. What the hell? Wang Feng was stunned for a few seconds. Partners of the heavenly Tao? The heavenly Tao is heartless and emotionless. Yama Lord's tone was indifferent, but the heavenly Tao appreciates each other. My reincarnation well was sealed, and so was her reincarnation ocean. However, she was lucky enough to meet the origin tribulation deity king, who helped her break it before the origin tribulation deity king split into two gods. After Mo Tiance left, the dark devil world started to take shape. I wanted to use this opportunity to cultivate even more powerful demon gods, so I launched the war between the two worlds. The more powerful a demon god is, the more they can grow in war. This is the case for soul demons. It was during the war with the God Realm that I learned that the origin tribulation God King was already Shiyu. However, at that time, the origin tribulation God King had already transformed into two gods and his soul was reincarnated. I went to the reincarnation sea to look for her, and I found that the divine world's seal was not small either. Although the seal of the reincarnation sea was broken, she could once again control the reincarnation of the divine world. She wanted to become an even stronger heavenly Tao. She wanted to break through the barrier of the divine realm. Thus we joined forces, because in order to break through the barrier of the godly realm, the only way is to nurture a universe-level life form in the godly realm itself. However, the 5 great god kings of the divine realm were formed from the divine realm's origin laws. Although the origin laws they controlled were powerful, they were unable to break through the upper limit. Only the reincarnation of the origin tribulation deity king's soul can do it. The reason why the origin tribulation god king wanted to split into two gods was because he made a deal with Shiyu. He entered the reincarnation sea to reincarnate, and the person he chose would definitely come to the world of the divine realm. Then, with the help of the 7 origins of the origin tribulation god king, He would become a universe-level life form and lead the divine realm into a stronger universe sequence. What Shiyu had to do was to help him take care of and nurture the person his soul chose. Moreover, she had to help him rebuild the chaos world and fulfill his lifelong wish. However, she was unable to find her way by herself. Speaking of this, Yen Lord smiled slightly. At that time, Dai Demon God happened to leave the divine realm and was out of her control. However, you later obtained the primal chaos green lotus. With this item and Dai Demon God's Pengu Axe martial soul, you even found the chaos world that was formed after the destruction of the chaos world. This was the key to rebuilding the chaos world. Therefore, she could only choose to cooperate with you and become a heavenly Tao companion. Wang Feng continued Yama Lord's words. That's right. Yama Lord nodded and smiled. Only Shiyu can change everything in the Douluo world. Your first million-year soul beast, that evil dragon, he should have died. The only one who could save him in the Douluo world without leaving a trace is Shiyu, the heavenly Tao of the divine realm. System, it's not just me, it's also Shiyu. These words were equivalent to a complete admission. And those props you obtained. Some of them were exchanged with the precious materials of the dark demon world and other worlds, and some of them were refined by the two of us based on the civilization of your previous life on Earth. Basically, we tried our best to choose what you know so that you have a clear understanding and reduce the time for you to grow. Of course, we won't interfere too much. We just help you grow when you need it. Our experience in the Douluo world has not changed at all. Otherwise, if you can't grow, everything will be meaningless. Wang Feng opened his palm and condensed the Pengu axe again. After hearing so much, he had mixed feelings in his heart. He didn't know whether to say that he was favored by the two heavenly Tao or controlled by the two heavenly Tao. However, looking back, there was no point in looking back. Because, the most important thing now was, your plan has been deviated from its original course. Wang Feng was silent for a long time before he finally said, the current Pengu axe is not enough to break the remaining 6 shackles. As a system, you helped me grow to this point. I am not Emotiance, so it is reasonable for me not to help. Shiyu and I have long understood your character. Yama Lord said, otherwise, you wouldn't have said everything directly. Moreover, I won't make the same mistake as Emotiance. Speaking of this, Wang Feng rarely heard Yama Lord's emotions fluctuate. Anger. But the Pengu axe has not been fully repaired. Wang Feng shook his head. That frontier demon god killed himself, but the repair of the Pengu axe's remnant soul has not reached the level you imagined. According to the normal progress, Wang Feng should have absorbed the frontier demon god's soul by now, and the Pengu axe's repair should be at least 50%. If 2 more demon god souls came, it would not be far from complete repair. Unfortunately, man proposes, God disposes. No, Yama Lord was the heavenly Tao, but the heavenly Tao did not calculate well. For existences like demon gods, if they could take another step, they would be able to transcend reincarnation and become the strongest in the universe. No matter. Yama Lord smiled, although I did not expect the frontier demon god to kill himself. But I have a backup plan. Backup plan? Wang Feng was stunned. He thought for a while. Could it be that Yama Lord still had the demon god's soul? Chapter 1667. At this moment, Yama Lord waved his hand slightly. In an instant, several figures suddenly appeared in midair. A total of 4. Every figure was bound by some kind of transparent chain. 2 men and 2 women. They were in soul form, and they emitted soul energy comparable to a demon god. Wang Feng's pupils constricted. He knew all 4 of them. Not anyone else. They were the other 4 godly kings of the god world. Destruction, life, kindness, evil. Wang Feng still remembered. According to his situation in the god world, these 4 godly kings led the gods of the god world to the void battlefield, which was the battle against the Dark Demon World's army in the Void Domain. After that, the God World was defeated, and the 4 godly kings, along with Zhu Zhuqing and the other gods who participated in the battle, were all captured and brought back to the Douluo God World. However, Zhu Zhuqing and the others escaped. At that time, Wang Feng was still a little puzzled. If Zhu Zhuqing had escaped, where did the godly kings and the others go? Later, when he asked Zhu Zhuqing, they didn't know either because they were sent back to the Dark Demon World in 2 batches. He didn't expect that they were in the hands of Yama Lord. These 4 godly kings are the 4 great powers of the Douluo God World. Yama Lord said slowly, if you absorb their souls and combine them, it will be enough for you to repair most of the remnant soul of the Pangu axe. You don't need to repair it completely. With the power of the Pangu axe, 70 to 80% of its power should be able to cut off at least 5 shackles. Wang Feng's expression changed as he looked at the 4 godly kings. He hadn't seen them for 10,000 years. Back then, when he met these godly kings in the Douluo world, the 5 of them had to seal them because of the huge energy produced by the fusion of the pandemonium. He didn't expect to meet them again here. It was unknown what method Yama Lord had used on these 4, but their souls had all fainted. He only needed to use the Pangu axe to absorb the souls of the 4 of them. It was very simple. Yama Lord seemed to be prepared. What are you waiting for? Yama Lord reminded. After absorbing the soul energy of these 4 godly kings, your Pangu axe remnant soul will be strong enough. Could it be that you have feelings for these 4 god kings? For your sake, I didn't capture that Tang San from the god realm. And that little lover of yours, if I didn't turn a blind eye in the dark devil realm, they wouldn't have been able to escape. Wang Feng stared at the Yen Lord. Since you and Shi Yu are heavenly Tao companions, why do you still want to start a divine battle? Furthermore, he even captured a god king from the god realm? He asked. But Yanzhu burst into laughter and said, What? Dark Devil World can kill demon gods and use their souls as nourishment for Pangu axe? Could it be that the god realm couldn't? In your world, there is a saying, heaven and earth are heartless, treating all living things as straw dogs. My heavenly Tao is heaven and earth. It doesn't matter if they are god kings or not. In our eyes, it's all the same. They all have their own uses. Their purpose is to become nourishment for the Pangu axe. You think that because the energy of the god realm is peaceful and pure, while the energy of my dark devil realm is violent and violent, you can feel at ease and think that there is no problem with me using the devil souls of the devil gods as nourishment. But the god realm can't? Naive. As for the war of the gods, it was the result of my negotiation with Sia. Because of this war, my dark devil world will need to lose a few devil gods, while her god world will need to lose a few god kings. Yama Master said slowly, I know you have doubts about this, so I'll tell you everything. If you go deeper, the god realm will need to change. As the representatives of the god realm's laws and order, the god kings can neither rise nor fall. Don't you want to know how the god realm can break through to a higher level world? It's very simple. It's to break all the existing laws and rebuild after destruction. The universe has its Genesis tribulation, which involves countless galaxies and worlds. And every world has its own tribulation. In these tribulations, all the major forces and supreme powerhouses will be reshuffled. They will either fall, be annihilated, or live on. Without the help of external forces, only by rebuilding after destruction can the god realm step into a higher level. Wang Feng's face was dark. He felt a war that was even more terrifying than the war of the god. Was this the heavenly Tao? Be it Sia or Yanzhu. In order to achieve their goals, they would mercilessly destroy countless living beings in the world. Just like in the stories of the primeval world, when the heavenly court needed to be rebuilt, the price was the replacement of the mortal world's dynasties. Tens of millions of people were plunged into misery and chaos. At this point, Wang Feng finally realized that Yanju had no reason to lie to him. Universe-level beings like the Dark Devil World or the God Realm can be reduced to ashes with a snap of their fingers. Yanju suddenly sighed softly. Some are even willing to convert all living beings in the world into energy and devour them just to refine a supreme treasure. The more powerful one was, the more obvious the meaning of the word life was. Sooner or later, you will learn to look down on life. One day, you might be able to destroy everything without blinking in order to save those women of yours. You won't hesitate over the souls of 4 God Kings like you do now. The throne of the universe is built on the accumulation of countless lives. Wang Feng looked at Yanju. He had to admit that Wang Feng couldn't refute Yanju, because what she said was very cruel but also very realistic. Yanju was speaking from the position and perspective of a world's heavenly Tao. This was something Wang Feng had never encountered before. Her position was too high, which meant that she saw further than Wang Feng. It was hard to refute what she said. You haven't decided yet? Yanju frowned slightly. This isn't like you. For your sake, I let that Tang San go. Otherwise, there would be 5 God Kings gathered here. More than 5 have died in the Dark Devil World over the years. Also, you have to understand that you are not making an enemy of anyone now. Neither the Dark Devil World nor the God Realm is your enemy. Wang Feng frowned. He clenched the Pangu axe in his hand. He looked at the 4 God Kings. Reason told him that Yanju was right. In terms of the truth, he was the one who benefited from killing the 4 God Kings. And looking at it from the beginning to the end, whether it was the Huanghai Demon God or the Imperial Demon God, they didn't have a grudge against him. They were just under Yanju's command. Could it be that the Dark Devil World's Demon God couldn't kill the God Kings of the God Realm? His relationship with the God Realm was just like that? As for the 4 God Kings, they didn't have much interaction. Back then in the Douluo world, they had a fight with the God Realm's Destruction God King because of Qian Rinxue, and Bibidon Wang Feng's eyes flashed slightly. He swung his axe at the 4 God Kings with a momentum that could split the sky and earth. The strong light shone on Yanju's relaxed brows and the smile on her face. It seemed that she was enlightened. However, in the next moment, the smile on Yanju's face froze. Because the axe light wasn't aimed at the 4 God Kings, but at her. Chapter 1668. Yama Lord's expression changed drastically. She did not expect that Wang Feng still had energy left. Moreover, the axe was not aimed at the 4 divine kings, but at her? The axe light that could split the universe came at her. She did not have time to think so much. The Pangu axe contained an extremely strong will to split open the sky. This will did not care whether you were in the soul or reality. Even space could not block it. However, Yama Lord was Yama Lord. She let out a clear cry and raised her palm. A vortex suddenly appeared, like a black hole. The vortex suddenly expanded. Most of the axe light was absorbed by the vortex in the center of Yama Lord's palm. However, her expression was very ugly. Even the residual power of the Pangu axe had slightly injured her soul. Wang Feng held the Pangu axe and stood in the distance, quietly looking at her. What do you mean? Yama Lord said coldly. Wang Feng, you should know that everything you have was given to you by me. Now that the 4 divine kings are in front of you, you killed them and absorbed their energy to repair the Pangu axe. Instead, you attacked me? Why are you also planning to learn the devil strategy? Wang Feng shook his head slowly. I do not plan to learn the devil strategy. You are right. Everything I have was given to me by Yama Lord. However, at this point, Wang Feng paused for a moment. He looked at the latter and said indifferently, but it wasn't given by you. Yama Lord was stunned and frowned. What are you trying to say? I want to say. Wang Feng raised the Pangu axe. You are not Yama Lord. Who are you? Yama Lord. Yama Lord was stunned. Then she smiled and sighed. How interesting. Why am I not myself? Wang Feng, I advise you to think carefully. You should know that if you are gone, the soul of Divine King Origin Tribulation will continue to reincarnate and look for the next one. I can nurture a second you. Is that so? Then do you want to nurture me? Wang Feng said. Or kill me? Do it? Yama Lord's expression changed and looked at Wang Feng with uncertainty. Why, not doing it? Wang Feng smiled. How long are you going to pretend to be Yama Lord? I have seen through you. I think there is no need to continue pretending. Otherwise, my Pengu axe will continue to strike at you. Silence. The air fell into silence. After a long while, the Yama Lord said slowly, Everything I've said just now is about the Yama Lord. How did you see through it? There couldn't be any loopholes in those words. Because you know nothing at all. And what I said, and what you said, is exactly the same as what you said. There can't be any loopholes. She said it twice in a row as if she was trying to make sure. That's right. There are no loopholes. Wang Feng nodded. Even if there is, I can't find it. I really don't know anything about it. Then I didn't say that I saw through you through those words, Wang Feng said indifferently. From the first time I saw you, I knew that you were a fake. However, at that time, you were pretending to be the King Yenluo. I need to know everything that happened, so I decided to listen and watch. Furthermore, I know that you're impersonating the Yama Master, so you'll definitely tell me everything that happened. You've already intimidated me. Impossible, Yama King said solemnly. How could you have seen through it from the very beginning? I know everything about you, including everything that happened in the Dark Devil world. What about the ancestral realm? Wang Feng suddenly said. The Chaos world that I split open with the Pengu axe is the second Great Desolation world. Did you know about it? I don't think it's possible. Because at that time, you were already in the Soul world. It's also impossible. Yama King stared at Wang Feng. I never appeared in the Dark Devil world. Of course it's impossible. Because you pretended to be the King Yenluo in the Soul world. You didn't start pretending to be the King Yenluo in the Dark Devil world. Wang Feng sneered. As for how I saw through it, Wang Feng pointed at the fake King Yenluo. The reason is very simple. It's because of your current appearance. What do you mean? The fake King Yenluo was stunned. You're really stupid. Although I don't know how you know about the King Yenluo, Wang Feng sneered. But it's obvious that you've been fooled by him. Your appearance is the appearance of a Bibidon. The King Yenluo and your lover have already swapped bodies. What's wrong with that? The fake King Yenluo didn't seem to understand. She's dead. Naturally, she's the same. Who told you that the King Yenluo and Bibidon swapped bodies? Wang Feng smiled. They didn't swap bodies at all. Or rather, it's just a facade. And you obviously don't know about it. Speaking of this, when the Dark Devil world was surging with the Dark Devil world and he had just obtained the Eternal God Slayer and the Ancestral Realm, he immediately went to the Dark Devil world. In order to deal with the Dark Devil world, Wang Feng used the Ancestral Realm to absorb the Dark Devil world and Bibidon. At that time, he had a brief communication with Bibidon. At the same time, he also analyzed the strange characters that had appeared on Bibidon's black scythe weapon. At first, Wang Feng thought it was Bibidon's privacy, so he didn't explain it with the primordial origin. Later, he couldn't help but secretly analyze it. Later, Wang Feng asked Bibidon why she met him in the body of a soul demon. Why couldn't she use her original body? In the end, Bibidon said that she gave her body to the King Yenluo, and in return, the King Yenluo gave her the Eternal God Slayer. At that time, Wang Feng believed her and thought it was a pity. After all, at that time, Wang Feng still wanted to be intimate with Bibidon. However, Bibidon was still in the appearance of the Heavenly Demon Lord at that time. Until just before Bibidon left the Ancestral Realm, she suddenly changed back to her original appearance and gave Wang Feng a goodbye kiss. Wang Feng knew there was something fishy about this, because the strange characters that appeared on the black scythe divine weapon, which had been analyzed by the primordial origin, meant, "Don't trust the King Yenluo." Combined with the kiss when Bibidan changed back to her original appearance, Wang Feng understood. Bibidan didn't give her body to the King Yenluo at all. Instead, she directly merged with the eternal God Slayer, which was equivalent to having two bodies. Even Bibidan's eternal God Slayer artifact spirit, Nini, didn't know this secret. Therefore, before coming to the soul world, Wang Fengxin already knew. The first King Yenluo who appeared in the appearance of Bibidan was a fake. At this time, the fake King Yenluo heard Wang Feng's words. Suddenly, he understood. The air fell into silence. "Although I knew you were a fake from the beginning," Wang Feng said slowly. "But I knew that when a fake like you appeared, you would definitely use many ways to make the chess piece that the King Yenluo had painstakingly cultivated think that you were the real one. Therefore, you would definitely tell me the whole story to gain my trust. And in order to not let me have the slightest suspicion, you wouldn't mix it up. Even if you did, it would be something that I wouldn't suspect. In order to know the whole story, I used this point to understand the whole story. So, who are you? And where is the real King Yenluo? Why do you want to borrow my hand to kill the 4 divine kings of the God realm?" Wang Feng's voice suddenly turned cold and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. The King Yenluo was silent for a few seconds. Then, he laughed. Chapter 1669. Interesting, very interesting. She laughed. "Yan Qingjue, I didn't expect you to scheme against me. Fine, I've lost this round. Come out. He's stronger than Mo Tiance. It'll be interesting in the future." With that, her figure gradually disappeared. Then, a female soul demon appeared in the air. Yen Lord was a soul demon, needless to say. However, compared to other soul demons of the opposite sex Wang Feng had seen, this soul demon was closer to a human. In her soul form, she didn't look very tall, only less than 3 meters tall. Her skin was a rare silver white. Soul demons with silver white skin were very rare in the dark demon realm. Because soul demons absorbed dark demon chi, this kind of energy would imperceptibly change the soul demon's genes, causing their skin to be mainly dark red, black, purple, and so on. The silver white soul demon was a moon soul demon. Although she was 3 meters tall, her body was perfectly proportioned and didn't look out of place. At the same time, her facial features were much more exquisite than those of a human female. Her facial features contained some mystery. At a glance, it felt like one could touch the mysteries of heaven and earth. This appearance could be Yen Lord's true appearance. The reason was simple. After obtaining the eternal God Slayer in the eternal sacred palace, he encountered a moon soul demon, Qi Lingyan. She was related to Yen Lord, and was also a moon soul demon. Even the artifact spirit of the eternal God Slayer, Yen Mengyao, was created by Yen Lord using Qi Lingyan as a model. She was also a moon soul demon. "My name is Yan Qingjue. It's my name in the dark demon realm. I'm also called Yen Lord." She smiled and said, "I'm surprised that you can see through her." "Who is she?" Wang Feng frowned slightly. "You don't need to know now." Yan Qingjue shook her head and paused. "Why don't you suspect that I'm not Yen Lord?" "I'm not in the mood to suspect. I don't care if you're real or fake." Wang Feng impatiently waved his hand and said, "From the time you borrowed Dong Er's body, I knew that you did that just to remind me. In other words, you already knew about the fake. I think you can either make a bet with that imposter or you can't. Or you were scheming against her. Anyway, I helped you win the bet. That's all. You're smart. No wonder he could reach this stage." Yan Qingjue sighed softly. "However, the power of your Pangu axe is not enough to break the remaining 5 shackles." "What? Don't tell me you want me to slaughter these 4 god kings?" Wang Feng raised his eyebrows slightly. "To put it bluntly, I'm not a soul demon, so I can't empathize with them. It's also impossible for me to see all living beings from a vantage point. The principle that the heavenly Tao is heartless and treats all living beings like straw dogs does not apply to me. I have no enmity with these 4 God Kings, so I won't use the Pangu axe to absorb them. At most, I had some conflict with the God King of Destruction. However, Huang Hai, Yujiang and the other 2 demon gods are all my enemies. These guys want to kill me. They aren't completely under your control. Although there are many of me in your gang, I'm sorry, but I'm not a soul demon. I was still human. I had vaguely guessed it before. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made a move during the black tide. I only needed to save Dong. Wang Feng wanted to say these words before, but because he had to expose the identity of the fake, Wang Feng could only pretend to be convinced by the other party and continue to listen. Yan Qingjue waved her hand and said, "That's not necessary. These 4 God Kings were part of the bet between me and her to see if you would make a move. However, what she said is actually very reasonable. The reason why this principle doesn't work here is because you haven't stood at a higher vantage point. What she said to you is not a single lie. It's their honor to be able to become nourishment for the Pangu Act." Yan Qingjue looked at Wang Feng with a serious face. "You also asked me to say this." She asked our Dark Devil World to capture these 4 God Kings because she wanted to bestow this opportunity to change the entire God realm. It's not that Tang San can't accept it, but the God realm still needs a backbone to preside over the overall situation, so a God King was left behind. If you don't want to absorb the souls of these 4 God Kings, then there's only one way. "What?" Wang Feng asked. "Absorb my soul energy." Yan Qingjue pointed at herself. Wang Feng immediately looked at her with extreme shock. "Are you sure?" Wang Feng asked subconsciously. "I am the embodiment of the heavenly Tao. My soul energy has been nurtured for tens of thousands of years." Yan Qingjue closed her eyes and said slowly, "In the original plan, I considered if you didn't absorb these 4 God Kings, or if something went wrong when you devoured the soul of the demon god of Desolate Sea. Therefore, there's naturally a last resort. Moreover, with my strength, if I can transform it into soul energy to repair the Pangu axe, it means that my soul will eventually become one with the Pangu axe. From a certain point of view, it's very likely that I will become the weapon spirit of the Pangu axe. The Pangu axe will also be bound to the Dark Devil World. This was actually my initial consideration," Yan Qingjue said softly. "However, I thought that you might dislike the Dark Devil World, so I gave up on this idea. I used other methods to repair the remnant soul of the Pangu axe." Wang Feng frowned deeply. "If you fuse with the Pangu axe, then what's the point of opening the reincarnation well and absorbing the devil energy in the shackles?" "It's different," Yan Qingjue explained. "To me, it's necessary to break this palace. Absorbing the devil energy in the shackles is secondary. More importantly, I can regain control of the reincarnation well. Only then will the Dark Devil World be complete. Even if I become the weapon spirit of the Pangu axe, my identity as the heavenly Tao will not disappear." "Will that work?" Wang Feng still asked. "You'll know once you try." Wang Feng thought about it. "If that's the case, then I won't hold back." With that, he picked up the axe and planned to chop at Yan Qingjue. "Wait," Yan Qingjue hurriedly said. "I'm different from them. I don't need the Pangu axe to kill me. If you chop me directly, it'll take a long time for me to reform my consciousness in the Pangu axe. If you don't chop me, how are you going to absorb it?" Wang Feng was puzzled. "Are you going to kill yourself? You can absorb it, but you'll lose a lot." "Of course not." Yan Qingjue shook her head and hesitated. "I'm proficient in countless soul mystic arts, many of which involve the will of the universe. Naturally, I have my ways. You've seen the Crimson Fox Supreme before, so you should know that the Crimson Divine Celestial Fox Clan studies the will of Yin and Yang in the universe. and this will of yin and yang contains countless profundities of the universe. Among them, there's a kind of dual cultivation profundities of yin and yang. The profundities of yin and yang use the profundities of yin and yang to fuse into one without any loss. Wang Feng, after saying so much, Wang Feng understood. 2 words, dual cultivation. Chapter 1670. After this Yama King finished his speech, Wang Feng only heard the 2 words dual cultivation. It couldn't be helped, these 2 words were too eye-catching. Wang Feng looked at the King of Hell from head to toe for a while, then said, "We are now in soul form, can we still dual cultivate?" "Of course." Yan Qingjue didn't seem to be embarrassed at all. She probably understood Wang Feng's strange gaze. She paused for a moment and said, "You are wrong. Yin and yang intercourse is the fusion of soul energy. From there, a stronger soul energy can be cultivated to nourish the other party. What you are thinking of is called mating, not dual cultivation. However, such dual cultivation requires one to be open to the other party. You basically have no secrets to me. Only the origin you comprehended in the primal chaos world is very magical. As for your current soul state, I am not too sure." Wang Feng was silent. Indeed, there were no secret. The primordial origin that Yama King mentioned was comprehended by himself. He could reach this stage because he relied on the primordial origin most of the time. As for Wang Feng's current soul state, he had already cultivated the initial wheel soul. It was normal that Yama King couldn't understand such a special soul that absorbed the essence of time to cultivate. Other than these 2, there was nothing else. So, you have to consider carefully. Yan Qingjue's gaze stopped on Wang Feng. Although I can send you out of the soul world now, Emotiance is in the dark devil world. This guy has already suspected the soul world. However, without my guidance, he can't come here for the time being unless he dares to abandon his physical body and enter this place in soul form. Emotiance is a universe-level life form, but he can't enter the reincarnation cycle of the dark devil world. Wang Feng was surprised. Is it that exaggerated? There are many types of universe-level life forms. Yan Qingjue smiled. For example, the few saints in the great desolate world that you know of were once supreme existences that transcended the universe, time, and life. They lived countless initial wheels and passed countless initial wheel calamities. They were one of the strongest universe-level life forms in the universe. However, the great desolate world entered the Dharma-ending era and was destroyed by the initial wheel calamity. No more saints were born. As for those few saints, they turned into factors in the universe during the endless initial wheel calamity. Those who reach the level of those saints are immortal in the universe. Their ideologies were still intact and the origin wheel cataclysm would not be able to destroy them. Even if the universe was destroyed, their ideology would still exist. Unfortunately, the destruction of the great desolate world meant that the source of their great Tao had disappeared. They had become saints in the great desolate world. However, the primordial world was destroyed. Their Tao collapsed on its own. No matter how strong they are, in the end, they will become factors in the universe and only retain a bit of ideology. The 1 Qi into 3 pure ones I gave you came from Origin Tribulation Godly King. Origin Tribulation Godly King was the only human who survived the prehistoric world. The ideology of those saints imparted many abilities to Origin Tribulation Godly King. Yan Qingjue glanced at Wang Feng and continued, "As for the Green Lotus and the remnant soul of the Penguax, if he was not mistaken, it should have been set up by the ideologies left behind by the saints in the universe. You're on my chessboard, even though you're just a chess piece. But I am also a pawn in their game." Wang Feng suddenly understood. He felt that just relying on Yan Qingju or Shiyu was not enough to give him so much. They were only the great world's heavenly Tao. They couldn't even be considered universe-level life forms. That one chi into three pure ones ability. One had to know that Emotiance called it the origin wheel ability. Even he was extremely envious of it. How could Yen Lord and Shi Yu possess such an ability? Origin Tribulation Godly King cultivated himself to become a universe-level life form. It wasn't his. If the primal chaos Green Lotus and the remnant soul of the Pangu Axe were formed by the saints' ideologies and were seeds left behind for the reconstruction of the prehistoric world, Wang Feng could understand. There are many universe-level life forms. Emotiance absorbed 2 shackles of the incomplete universe's will. Even though he managed to cultivate himself to become a universe-level life form, he is still the weakest universe-level life form. Yen Qingjue's face was indifferent. He hasn't even experienced one origin wheel calamity. A universe-level life form starts with one origin wheel. 129,600 years. Once he passes this age, he will experience one origin wheel calamity. After passing it, his universe's will become even stronger. The origin wheel calamity has no upper limit. As long as the universe exists, it will be endless. The more he passes, the stronger he will be. However, it will also be more difficult. Emotiance is a universe-level life form that hasn't even been in the universe level for 10,000 years. He is very weak. He is still unable to transcend the universe's reincarnation and forcefully come to the Dark Devil World's reincarnation soul world. Even if he forcefully comes, he will definitely suffer a strong impact from karma. His cultivation will be greatly damaged. He won't do such a stupid thing. Therefore, he won't come. However, he has already guessed that you are here. Emotiance is a very cunning person. He won't come here. However, he will definitely follow the clues to the God world or even the Douluo world. He will capture your confidants and friends and force you to appear. Wang Fengxin's heart thumped wildly. Indeed, he knew that Emotiance wouldn't give up so easily. He had actually thought of such a possibility before, but he didn't dare to think too deeply about it. Now that Yen Qingjue mentioned it so casually, he had no choice but to admit it. He has already made his move? Wang Feng asked in a low voice. Probably soon. With his personality. Yen Qingjue nodded slightly. You are much later than I expected. Therefore, you have to sever the remaining 5 shackles as soon as possible. The Well of Reincarnation is the most valuable treasure of the Dark Devil World. After everything that happened in the Dark Devil World, its existence is as important as the primal green lotus to the desolate world. The water of the Well of Reincarnation can reconstruct the soul. You can cultivate the 3 pure ones with the water of the Well of Reincarnation to cultivate 3 soul avatars. When the 3 souls fuse, your soul will be infinitely close to the level of a universe-class life form. After you leave this place, you will find your main body in the Douluo world. When the 2 fuse, you will be able to fight with Emotiance with the Pangu Axe's will of splitting open the heavens. This is the only way. It was similar to what Wang Feng thought. The key is the Pangu Axe's will of splitting open the heavens. You have to recover at least 70% of the Pangu Axe's remnant soul before you can slightly activate and comprehend the Pangu Axe's will of splitting open the heavens. Yen Qingjue looked at Wang Feng after she finished speaking. Then what are you waiting for? Come on. Wang Feng said without hesitation. Yen Qingjue nodded and floated in front of Wang Feng. Her soul was pure and powerful. It was just that her soul form was much higher than Wang Feng's. Although she looked very similar to a human, there were still many differences. Chapter 1671. The intersection of yin and yang is one of the main origins of the yin and yang willpower of the universe. Any universe willpower contains at least a dozen origins. Among them, there are main origins and branch origins. To the universe willpower, there are only 2 to 3 types of branch origins. Among them, as long as one comprehends the main origin, one will be able to touch the universe willpower. Basically, one will possess a portion of the universe willpower's power. As for the branch origins, it won't affect the universe willpower's power if it's missing. However, there will be many side effects. If one can fully comprehend the branch origins, one will possess a complete universe willpower. That will be extraordinarily powerful. In fact, until today, among all the universe-level life forms that I know, none of them possess a complete universe willpower. That's too rare. Emotion wanted to scheme against me. Even if it was because he wanted to become a universe-level life form, he would have obtained the remaining chaotic demonic aura in the shackles. Among them, there is a very important branch origin. Speaking of which, the intersection of yin and yang is also known as the soul-nurturing origin. It is a powerful origin that cultivates the soul. It requires two living beings in the same body. The yin and yang of the godly soul will fuse and harmonize with the universe's yin and yang willpower. From there, a stronger soul energy will be produced to nourish both parties. I will impart this origin to you and see how much you can comprehend. Then, I will guide you to fuse with my soul to cultivate this origin. Then, I will use the soul energy produced to repair the remnant soul of the Panguak. Yan Qingju pointed at Wang Feng's forehead. The enormous origin profound turned into countless ancient patterns that flowed into the depths of Wang Feng's soul like a torrential river. To comprehend the origin, he naturally had to use the primordial origin. By relying on himself and the primordial origin, the speed of comprehension would be unimaginably fast. As the primordial chaos quintessence circulated, the quintessence was rapidly comprehended. In fact, it was different from what Wang Feng had imagined. The fusion of godly souls was a fusion of the soul according to a special law. It required both parties to immerse themselves and comprehend the universe's yin and yang willpower. As it was a fusion of the soul, both parties had to be open to each other without leaving any gap. Compared to physical mating, the difference was huge. Simply put, it wasn't spiritual mating, but it was better than spiritual mating. It didn't contain any lust. They didn't need to have any feelings for each other. They only needed to pursue the same goal and trust each other at the same time. But speaking of which, those who could cultivate this kind of origin source with him were mostly close to him. Wang Feng felt that for him. From the perspective of the system, Yan Qingju was of very close existence to him. But from the perspective of the Yama Master, it was a completely different matter. I didn't expect the system to be a girl. Even though the races are different, Wang Feng suddenly sighed emotionally in his heart. A moment later, Wang Feng opened his eyes and said, "Let's begin." Yan Qingju nodded. The two of them flew into the air. Their eyes met. A clockwise vortex appeared in Yan Qingya's moon-white eyes. A counterclockwise vortex appeared in Wang Feng's soul eyes. The two vortexes collided. At that moment, their minds trembled as a mysterious soul consciousness appeared in the depths of their souls. However, after a long time, the vortexes in their eyes did not start to merge. This meant that his cultivation had yet to begin. "I don't think so," Wang Feng said through his soul. "There's still a barrier between our souls. I can't truly open my mind." Simply put, their souls could not merge. As the main origin source of the yin-yang will, it was obvious that the yin-yang symbiotic origin source was not easy to cultivate or comprehend. It was difficult to even enter the state of mind. "We can give it a try. Let's have a spiritual connection," Yan Qingju suggested. "This way, our minds will be more compatible." "This spiritual connection, isn't it the same as doing that?" Wang Feng thought for a moment. Under normal circumstances, there was no need for spiritual connection to cultivate the yin-yang symbiotic origin source. As long as their minds were connected, they could cultivate even from a distance. But now, both of them could not completely open their minds to each other. Spiritual connection was also a method. However, once their souls touched, it would be similar to the physical body's mating. Then, it would be true spiritual intercourse. It's fine, Yanqing-ju replied after a moment of silence. Speaking of which, the heavenly Tao is heartless. Logically speaking, the incarnations of the heavenly Tao should have no emotions, right? Wang Feng asked. Nonsense, Yanqing-ju said. The heavenly Tao is also a kind of ideology. It's life. Life has emotions. Moreover, the origin of the heavenly Tao is often unknown. I am the heavenly Tao of the dark devil world. My ideology has been formed long ago. Naturally, I have emotions. However, these emotions are different from the emotions you humans have. Moreover, I have paid attention to all your experiences. Naturally, I have feelings for you. Oh! Wang Feng was shocked. It's probably like the emotions you humans have when you watch the soul beasts you nurture or the offspring you nurture slowly grow. Wang Feng. Heh, so you're treating me like a soul beast? Wang Fengxin said. Of course, he knew that this was an analogy. After all, he was just a chess piece when he was weak. It was normal for him to have some emotions when he saw his chess piece become stronger with his own eyes. Alright then, let's try spiritual connection, Wang Feng said. He also had feelings for the system. He was even more grateful. At this moment, Wang Feng thought that it would be fine as long as he treated her as the system. Otherwise, if Wang Feng were to make spiritual contact with an unfamiliar soul, Wang Feng was very against it. Yanqing-ju nodded slightly. Immediately after, the two looked at each other. Their spiritual palms gradually touched. A wonderful feeling emerged in Wang Feng's heart. How should he say it? It was a little cool, a little enlightened, and a little eager. Wang Feng looked at the latter. He could only see the vortex in her eyes spinning faster and faster. Even her cheeks had a gentle curve to them. It seemed that she also felt the same. As their palms touched, the vortex in their eyes spun faster and faster. The wonderful feeling, accompanied by the spiritual connection, caused the souls of the two to begin to flow together. Spiritual energy turned into an invisible breeze that flowed around the two. It seems to be possible. Wang Feng nodded slightly. However, he felt that something was missing. Your soul seems to be a little closed. Yanqing-ju also noticed it. She couldn't help but say, "Do you want to get closer?" Wang Feng pondered for a moment and finally thought of something. He looked at Yanqing-ju with a strange expression and suddenly said, No, we don't need to get closer. I think, even if our souls are really intertwined, my mind may not be completely open. Yanqing-ju, she said seriously, the soul is not a physical body. It can't intertwine like a physical body. It can only touch. However, when the soul touches at a deep level, it is equivalent to the intertwining of the physical body. If you can't open your mind, then you can't cultivate the yin-yang intersection origin. You can't absorb the spiritual energy to repair the panguak. I have a way, Wang Feng said. I don't need to touch the soul. What way? Yanqing-ju seemed surprised. Wang Feng whispered a few words in her ear. After Yanqing-ju heard it, she looked at Wang Feng strangely and then nodded. Okay, I'll try. After Yanqing-ju finished speaking, she coughed a few times. Then, she spoke slowly in an ancient and mechanical voice in Wang Feng's ear. Chapter 1672. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully punching the well of reincarnation. You have been rewarded with the second part of one turning into three pure ones, yin and yang intersection origin. According to the host's growth, the system will shut down. I hope the host will work hard and not let the system down. The cold mechanical voice sounded in Wang Feng's soul along with Yanqingju's words. It was this voice and this sense of familiarity. Wang Fengxin was a bit excited. The system that had left an indelible mark in his heart finally made Wang Feng feel a sense of familiarity with Yan Qingjue from the depths of his soul. Yan Qingjue could not understand why Wang Feng would ask her to do this. It was obviously something that did not have any meaning. She was the embodiment of the heavenly Tao. She had emotions, but she could not understand human emotions. However, after this voice sounded, Yan Qingjue could feel that this host, at this moment, had a subtle feeling that his soul was compatible with hers. Along with this subtle feeling, the vortex in their eyes began to expand, turning into an invisible energy that wrapped around them. It was like two spinning giant cocoons. Wang Feng felt that his soul had once again come to the river of time. But this time, he saw the river of time of the dark devil world. He saw the experience of Yan Qingjue, the dark devil world's creator devil source. She was the heavenly Tao of the dark devil world, an innate life form that was born before the dark devil world was broken. From the moment the dark devil world was broken, she carried the will of the world and fused with the great Tao. From choosing Mo Tiance, integrating the dark devil world, to waging a war against the heavenly realm, to meeting Shiyu, the heavenly Tao of the heavenly realm. Countless scenes flowed through the long river of time in the dark demon world like a movie, leaving behind a legend that had never been written down. Not only that, she, who had transformed into the Lord of Hell, had been to countless worlds. For example, she had bartered with Qin Yu and his wife to get the pop tier. The word before and the word he were comprehended by her after meeting a certain great emperor of the desolate world. Not only that, she also knew several other word riddles. He had even gotten to know the famous Emperor Ruthless, Emperor Huangtian. She had even been to the Angel Nebula and talked with the highest queen of the Angel Nebula, Holy Keisha, about the boundary between good and evil. She had even been to Earth, a place far away in the universe. She had seen the prosperity of the mortal world. In the crowd, she had even met her past self as a passerby. Wang Feng believed that Yan Qingjue must have sensed the reincarnation of the origin tribulation God King's soul. She traveled through the many worlds, leaving behind countless footprints and comprehending the great Tao of the universe. Finally, she returned to the dark demon world and started the age of magical machines, preparing for her arrival. Basically, she had been to all the worlds in the multiverse that Wang Feng knew about, as well as the worlds that he did not know about. Wang Feng was shaken by what he saw. He felt that Yan Qingjin was more like the main character than he was. The difference was that Yan Qingjue was the heavenly Tao of the dark demon world. If she wanted to become a universe-level life form, she would naturally have to do with the dark demon world. She was not a normal life form, but the heavenly Tao of the world. The heavenly Tao of a world was the embodiment of the world's will. During the era of magical machines, the dark demon world, which had expanded without restraint, had become even more powerful. Her power had also grown alongside the dark demon world. It had to be said that in terms of experience, Yan Qingjue was probably much more interesting than him. Moreover, it was her true pursuit. It was not as simple as dealing with Mo Tiance. On the other hand, Mo Tiance was only a stone in her path of pursuing the great Tao. Even without him, she would have other ways to deal with him. Wang Feng understood Yan Qingjue through the fusion of their souls. He was shocked by her. He was impressed by her. He did not have many feelings for Yan Qingjue between a man and a woman. He only had gratitude for the system's identity and admiration for Yan Qingjue's embodiment of the heavenly Tao. True God's heart, our souls have fused. We have already started cultivating the yin-yang intersection origin. Focus all your attention on the soul fragment of the Pangu act. Yan Qingjue's voice rang out from the depths of his soul. Wang Feng acknowledged, and the Pangu axe and the primordial origin appeared above his head with a thought. Suddenly, a massive amount of soul energy gathered from the center of their cocoons, forming two torrents of yin and yang. They flowed through the primordial origin and entered the soul fragment of the Panguak. For a moment, Wang Fengxin felt a strange sensation in his heart. He could feel that their souls had not weakened because of this. Instead, they had become even stronger. The fusion of yin and yang nourished one's body. As the main origin of the yin-yang willpower of the universe, the yin-yang intersection origin was obviously an extremely powerful origin. Once the two were comprehended and cultivated at the same time, their souls would become stronger rapidly. After an unknown period of time, Wang Feng could faintly feel the vibrations of the Panguak, a terrifying willpower that was as vast as the explosion of the universe came from the axe, which was getting brighter. It was the willpower of splitting open the heavens. The willpower of the universe was a great Tao, different from the willpower of yin and yang. The willpower of splitting open the heavens was an offensive willpower that had the power to break open the chaos of the universe. If the willpower of the universe were to be ranked, Wang Feng believed that the willpower of splitting open the heavens in the Pangu axe was enough to be in the top 5. However, he did not know how the willpower of the universe categorized the strong and the weak. Speaking of which, Scarlet Fox Supreme Being had said that his initial wheel soul had already touched the karma origin. The karma origin was the number 1 willpower in the universe, and it was the main origin of the destiny willpower. It's enough to restore the soul fragment of the Pangu axe. Wang Feng thought and sighed. After all, just the willpower of splitting open the heavens was enough for Wang Feng to become a universe-level life form. Feeling the mighty willpower of the Pangu axe, Wang Fengxin was in a daze. He knew that he had to imprint all of it into the depths of his soul and quickly assimilate it. After an unknown period of time, with a soft groan, Wang Feng suddenly opened his eyes and the Pangu axe automatically fell into his hands. Yan Qingjue's soul did not become illusory. Instead, it became more solid and did not look like a soul at all. Instead, it looked like her real body. She was emitting a powerful willpower of the origin that surrounded her body. It had a faint attraction to his soul. This was the effect of cultivating the yin-yang intersection origin. But then again, Wang Feng felt that the yin-yang intersection origin would be even more effective if he and a few of his close female friends were to cultivate it, because it could truly merge their souls. According to what CS said, you are very similar to Origin Calamity Deity King. Yan Qingjue suddenly said. Wang Feng raised his eyebrows. In what way? Both of you are very fickle and scumbags. The difference is that Origin Calamity Deity King is fickle. In your words, he only flirts but does not marry. Yan Qingjue pondered for a moment. And you want all of them. Origin Calamity Deity King is also alone in the end. Fortunately, when I merged my soul with yours, I noticed many details that I did not notice. This is your own Tao that has never changed. It's interesting to say that when one reaches your level, 99% of them will realize that they are no longer who they used to be when they look back. But you are still. Your heart is very firm. Wang Feng coughed a few times. He did not know if Yan Qingjue was praising or criticizing him. Since you said so, I will take it as a compliment, Wang Feng said. Yan Qingjue, move aside. I will help you break the remaining 5 shackles. Wang Feng took out the Pangu axe and walked toward the door of the palace in front of him. Yan Qingjue watched him pass by with anticipation in her eyes. Chapter 1673. Wang Feng stood outside the palace gate that was several thousand feet tall. Every shackle looked like a horizontal mountain peak. Wang Feng took out the Pangu axe and seemed to have thought of something. He suddenly asked curiously, among these 9 shackles, 3 were severed by Mo Tiant's. With Mo Tiant's strength at that time, could he sever 3 shackles? At that time, he should only be a demon god, right? I gave him many things. At that time, he had the strength to challenge those above his level, just like you. Yan Qingjue explained. Although he was a demon god, his actual combat strength far exceeded that. He could even kill him instantly. Moreover, I chose him to be the sole demon to unify the dark demon world. His talent is naturally outstanding. Wang Feng nodded. As far as Wang Feng could remember, Mo Tiance was the strongest opponent. Otherwise, he wouldn't have suspected that this guy had cheat. Wang Feng weighed the Pangu axe and leaped. Instantly, the Pangu axe seemed to materialize and burst out with a dazzling divine light. His soul's eyes also burst out with a colorless brilliance. The soul power that was as abundant as an ocean was activated by the axe. The will of opening the sky contained in the soul of the Pangu axe, which had been repaired by at least 70%, turned into an axe light that looked like a natural chasm and slashed down from above the palace. The fifth shackle had almost no resistance. The axe light was split into two. The remaining fourth and third shackles had some resistance, but they didn't last long. Until the second shackle, the axe light was like a cutting machine. It quickly cut the shackle that was at least 1,000 feet wide from top to bottom. Countless runes and symbols floated out from the gaps of the shackles along with black devil chi. They were all absorbed by Yan Qingjue. The time it took to sever the second shackle was longer than the previous ones combined. At this time, the axe light's remaining power was exhausted. Wang Feng kept the Pangu axe and looked at the last shackle. He thought to himself, this thing is indeed abnormal. Even with the Pangu axe's current state of repair, he could only sever 4 shackles. Moreover, it also used up most of his soul power. It's a little slow. I'll try to sever the last shackle later, Wang Feng said with some regret. Slow? Yan Qingjue, who had absorbed the 4 streams of demonic qi, looked at Wang Feng strangely. Do you know how long it took Mo Tiance to sever the first 3 shackles? How long? I've spent at least half a year in this world. When he reached the 6th strand, he had no other choice but to flee with the 3 strands of demonic qi. The lower the shackles, the stronger the will of the universe. The harder it is to split it open. Half a year? Why didn't you notice it after such a long time? Wang Feng asked. I was in another world back then and didn't pay attention to Mo Tiance all the time. Because at that time, he still had my trust. Yan Qingjue shook her head slightly. Actually, I was on a special planet called the God Gang planet. He planned to forge a powerful weapon for Mo Tiance here so that he could split open a few more layers. At that time, I told him to wait until he returned before making a move. Yan Qingjue looked at the entrance of the palace. Fortunately, if the weapon was successfully forged, he would not only obtain 3 strands of demonic energy, but at least 4. Therefore, after such a short time, you are only left with 1 shackle. Compared to the Mo Tiance of back then, the difference is like the difference between heaven and earth. So Mo Tiance of back then was such a trash. Wang Fengxin thought, no, it wasn't Mo Tiance who was trash. It was because the Pangu axe was too powerful now. Take a rest. Yan Qingjue walked to Wang Feng's side and extended her hands towards Wang Feng. A soul-spirit whirlpool appeared in her eyes. A massive amount of soul-spirit energy was continuously transferred to Wang Feng from her body. This is... Wang Feng felt the soul-spirit energy and his soul-spirit once again touched the yin-yang intersection origin. You and I cultivate the yin-yang intersection origin. Our souls can converge at any time to heal any soul injuries and improve the soul-spirit cultivation. You are the yang soul origin while I am the yin soul origin. As long as you and I are together, even a universe-level life form can't destroy our souls. Yan Qingjue said, as the core origin of the yin-yang will, don't underestimate this origin. There are millions of origin great Daos. This yin-yang intersection origin is one of the top ones. Just like what Yan Qingjue said. Furthermore, your initial wheel time soul absorbs the essence of the world's long river of time, and the essence of time in any world's long river of time is incomparably vast. The yin and yang intersection origin cultivation of this kind of soul has also undergone a change. Even if the soul spirit energy here isn't abundant, you can still rely on me to absorb time essence from the dark devil world's time river. Then wouldn't I always be able to use the Pangu axe? Wang Feng pondered. Then I would be invincible. In the past, using the Pangu axe consumed a huge amount of energy and would be gone after a few swings. Now, the Pangu axe was even more powerful and had the heaven-splitting willpower. One swing of the axe would consume an even more ridiculous amount of energy. But now there's a gap and I have to be by your side and in the dark devil world. Yanqing Ju said after pondering for a while. Isn't your soul spirit already fused with the Pangu axe? You are now half a weapon spirit of the Pangu axe, right? Wang Feng pondered. Aren't you always by my side? Yanqing Ju didn't refute and seemed to agree. However, in the dark devil world, this condition is very harsh. Wang Feng shook his head. Actually, there's a way that can allow you to use the Pangu axe without restriction in any world. Yanqing Ju suddenly said. What way? Wait. Wang Feng was about to ask when he seemed to have thought of something. You're saying that I can also? You're right. Yanqing Ju glanced at Wang Feng. If you cultivate the yin-yang intersection origin with the heavenly Tao of other worlds, you can also absorb the time essence of those worlds as nourishment and cultivation. Isn't this yin-yang intersection origin? Only two people can cultivate it? Wang Feng asked doubtfully. Won't there be an imbalance in yin and yang if there's one more? Now that he had already cultivated this origin, he already had a certain degree of understanding. The yin-yang intersection origin required the souls of both parties, the yang soul origin and the yin soul origin, to synchronize and circulate at the same time. If there was an additional yin soul origin, it would basically be very difficult to succeed. Originally, it was like this. Yanqing Ju nodded slightly. However, your initial wheel-time soul is too special and has fused with time. There are endless possibilities of changes. Also, you have a complete initial wheel divine ability like the one chi into three pure ones. Once the initial wheel-time soul fuses with the one chi into three pure ones, it means that you can cultivate different initial wheel-time souls at different times. This means that you can cultivate the yin-yang intersection origin with different yin soul origins in different worlds. Wang Feng took a deep breath. Holy shit! Didn't this mean that he could really cultivate with his close female friends? Could this be the soul cultivation method that was deduced by the primordial origin and was most suitable for him to cultivate? This was really very suitable for him. Are there any side effects? Wang Feng asked cautiously. Yanqing Ju's eyes flashed with an unfathomable light. Then, she shook her head. No. That's good. Wang Fengxin was overjoyed. There were no side effects at all. Wang Feng, who was in an extremely good mood, immediately swung the Pangu axe at the last shackle. The last shackle was extremely sturdy. The axe could not break it. He had to use the second axe to break it. As the last shackle was broken, Wang Feng suddenly felt his soul become lighter. He looked up at the palace in confusion and found that it was starting to disappear. Wang Feng looked back at Yanqing Ju. She was absorbing the demonic qi in the last shackle. As the palace disappeared, the reincarnation well appeared in his sight. The reincarnation well was bigger than he had imagined. In terms of diameter, it was at least 1,000 meters. There were several channels that led to the reincarnation well. Those should be the reincarnated souls in the outside world. Oh right, you haven't told me who built this palace. Wang Feng suddenly asked. I don't seem to have found any information about this palace in your experience. Using the universe's will to seal the reincarnation well and not let you control it. It sounds very strange. Yanqing Ju opened her eyes. She hesitated for a while, which was rare. Then she said, This is actually a test from the universe's life form to our world's heavenly Tao. It's very complicated. I'll tell you later when I have time. Is it related to the guy who pretended to be you? Wang Feng asked. Yan Qingju was stunned. After a moment of silence, she nodded. That's true, Wang Fengxin said. This was probably Yan Qingju's only secret. Wang Feng was not very interested. It was time to take a look at the reincarnation well and prepare to return to the real world. The reincarnation well is a demonic well that existed when the dark demon world was first born. Its well water is the water of chaos. For any soul, it has the effect of cleansing the karma of the mortal world and reshaping the soul. Also, only through the baptism of the well water can a soul return to its original world safely. Previously, the reincarnation well was limited. I could not control or mobilize the well water inside. Yan Qingju pointed at the giant well in front of them. From afar, it looked like a giant pit. Otherwise, the dark demon world's demon souls that enter the well water to reincarnate would receive a great boost. Now that the demon souls have entered the reincarnation well to reincarnate, there will only be vicious changes. They may reincarnate as a variant of another life form and cause irresistible harm to other worlds. Yan Qingju slowly explained, in the long run, not to mention the changes in other worlds, the soul demons of the dark demon world will definitely get worse with each generation. So, this is the reason why you did not let those demon souls enter the reincarnation well? Wang Feng understood. It's just one of the reasons. Yan Qingju said lightly. Also, I want to take advantage of the fact that the reincarnation well is not under my control to let these demon souls compete. It would be best if they could even overturn the demon gods. Only then can it show that the demon souls have unlimited potential. So, wasn't this just raising goo? As expected, these incarnations of the heavenly Tao were not kind people. Next, use the reincarnation well's well water to cultivate the one qi into 3 pure ones. Now that you have obtained the complete version of one spirit into 3 pure ones, if you can cultivate the other 2 pure souls in one go in the reincarnation well, and then go to the long river of time in other worlds to cultivate the initial wheel-time soul. With the 3 souls combined, you will have a higher chance of winning against Emotians. Wang Feng nodded slightly. Speaking of which, haven't you cultivated the one qi into 3 pure ones before? Wang Feng suddenly asked. I can't cultivate it. I am an incarnation of the heavenly Tao. This initial wheel remarkable power comes from the universal life form of your eldritch world. To a certain extent, it is a remarkable power inheritance. It is not something that can be cultivated just because one wants to. Wang Feng looked down at the reincarnation well and pondered for a moment before leaping in. Yan Qingju followed suit. The soul was not a physical body, but the moment it fell into the well water, there was a splash. An extremely special energy immediately enveloped Wang Feng's soul. This was not soul energy, but a kind of energy that Wang Feng could not describe. The water of chaos. This is chaos energy. Chaos energy can be any kind of energy. Be it the soul or the body, it can be cultivated. It has no boundaries. It has flowed in the dark demon world for countless years. It is almost endless. I will stand guard for you. You can start cultivating now. Yan Qingju's voice sounded in his soul. Wang Feng did not hesitate and immediately cultivated the complete one qi into 3 pure ones. Time slowly passed. The water level of the reincarnation well was slowly dropping. Yan Qingju watched silently. Wang Feng's soul figure sat cross-legged in the center of the well water. His body emitted a kind of divine light. Every inch of the light seemed to have gathered the essence of countless stars. Strangely, it looked a little hazy. It was as if he was not here. Yan Qingju knew that this was the effect of the initial wheel soul. It looked like a soul, but it was actually one with time. It was difficult to detect a soul. Closing her eyes to sense, Yan Qingju could not even sense that Wang Feng was in the reincarnation well. As the water level dropped, the water of the reincarnation well started to swirl. Yan Qingju sighed slightly. The water of the reincarnation well was not endless. The water of the well was chaos water. Theoretically, it could only be consumed and could not be replenished. However, the water of the well had not been used in the dark demon world for so many years. As a result, the water of the well had overflowed and formed the soul-cleansing sea and the Nether River. However, seeing Wang Feng absorb and cultivate, Yan Qingju was a little worried that he would absorb all the water of the well. However, the reincarnation well contained the heavenly Tao of the dark demon world. Theoretically, the water of the well could not be replenished. However, in reality, there was only one set of heavenly Tao in the reincarnation well. As long as there was chaos water in the well, it could continue to be produced in small amounts. That was why she said that it was endless. The premise was that the water of the well would not be completely absorbed. Fortunately, Yan Qingju's worries were unnecessary. After dozens of days, the water of the well had dropped by at least a quarter. She finally saw Wang Feng transform into a second pure soul. After that, almost every time the water of the well dropped by a quarter, Wang Feng would form a pure soul. Although these souls were formed by Wang Feng, they were not initial wheel souls. However, they still contained powerful soul energy and were no different from Wang Feng's. 3 Wang Fengs that looked exactly the same sat cross-legged in a triangle. The main soul was the initial wheel soul. It was obvious at a glance. Chapter 1674. After an unknown period of time, Wang Feng slowly opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was 2 soul bodies that looked exactly like him. They were exactly the same. This meant that he had mastered the Abhijna. Thanks to the well of reincarnation and the completeness of the one Qi into 3 pure ones, his cultivation speed was much faster than when he was in the Divine Mountain. Yan Qingjue said, "Congratulations." Wang Feng stood up and felt the strength of his soul. He had the illusion that everything was under his control. He couldn't help but smile. "This time, as a system, you helped me a lot." Wang Feng looked at Yan Qingjue. "Speaking of which, I owe you a lot. We both took what we needed." "You don't owe me anything," Yan Qingjue said. "You can't say that." Wang Feng looked serious. "Without your help, even if the origin tribulation deity king reincarnated and chose me, it would be difficult for me to get up. You saw it. For the first 6 years, I was just a salted fish waiting to die. I would only embarrass countless transmigrators." Yan Qingjue smiled. She probably couldn't understand why Wang Feng could still mock himself. If one were to say that he had changed, it would be a huge change. But in some places, perhaps because of his firm Tao heart, he didn't change much. "But I still have a question," Wang Feng suddenly said. "Did you choose to cultivate me just to break the will shackles of that palace?" "Yes," Yan Qingjue answered without hesitation. "That's a pity. I thought there was some other reason." Wang Feng revealed a disappointed look. "What other reasons do you think I have?" Yan Qingjue asked. Wang Feng didn't say anything. After a while, he said, "Before I came, Scarlet Fox Supreme told me that I have a love tribulation. But until now I haven't experienced any real tribulation. Instead, he had obtained a great opportunity. Yin and Yang crossed wills, and the one Qi into 3 pure ones. The only trouble was that Yama Lord who pretended to be you. She was used by you and didn't know that you didn't exchange identities with Dong. I saw through her. At first, I thought that this was a love tribulation. But after thinking about it, this love tribulation was too simple. And it was different from what Scarlet Fox Supreme said. Venerable Crimson Fox said that my love tribulation is related to Bibidon. After you appeared, I didn't encounter any calamities." Wang Feng stared at Yan Qingjue, Now that I've cultivated the one qi into 3 pure ones, I'll use the method you mentioned to cultivate the other 2 godly souls into the primordial wheel-time soul. When the 3 souls fuse into one and enter the main body, we will be able to deal with Mo Tian. Why would there be a calamity? Yan Qingju didn't answer immediately. Wang Feng was not in a hurry. Wang Feng believed a little of what the Crimson Fox Supremacy said. This was because he had also seen the threads of love on the Scarlet Fox Supreme. This could not be fate. But now, he was about to leave. Not to mention the tribulation of love, it was simply smooth sailing, okay? I should have kept this from you. However, with your intelligence, it's not possible to hide it from him. Yan Qingju thought for a moment. It's not very likely. Wang Feng laughed. It's the yin-yang intersection origin, right? You said that this origin came from the yin-yang willpower of the Crimson God Skyfox clan. So, for you to be able to obtain this yin-yang intersection origin, it seems like that being from the Crimson God Skyfox clan made a move? Yan Qingju nodded in the end. Then can you tell me what kind of calamity I encountered? Wang Feng squinted his eyes. Yan Qingju wanted to say something but stopped. Let me guess. Wang Feng suddenly said. I appeared at Crimson Fox Supreme's place. Crimson Fox Supreme must have informed that being from the Crimson God Skyfox clan about me. This being must have been very shocked and furious when she found out that erasing the memories of my other soulmates in Crimson Hill City didn't work. What's interesting is that this being must have known you. After all, she had stayed in Dark Demon Sector for a long time. Although I didn't find any information from your experience, this being must have found it out. With her level, she had already jumped out of the River of Time in Dark Demon Sector, and I couldn't detect it. She is acquainted with you and knows of your plans. So, she told you about the yin-yang intersection origin. She also made a deal with you. This origin not only helped me, but also helped you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to sever the remaining shackles. At this point, Wang Feng continued slowly. However, the benefits definitely didn't come for free. What did she ask you to do to me? Yan Qingju was silent. Probably because Wang Feng's reaction was too fast. It caught her off guard and she didn't expect it. More interestingly, that being didn't hesitate to erase part of my clone's memories for Lena. Why did she pass the yin-yang intersection origin to you to cultivate with me? Wang Feng stared deeply at Yan Qingju. Why? Isn't it time for a showdown? Yan Qingju didn't know what to say for a moment, but she wasn't intimidated by the aggressive Wang Feng. Originally, I wanted to tell you later. After a while, Yan Qingju said, since you're asking now, then I'll tell you directly. What you said is mostly correct. However, there's one thing wrong. Originally, you didn't have a relationship tribulation. Your real tribulation is actually the Lord of Hell you met just now who pretended to be me. If you didn't see through her, not only would I be in great trouble, but you would also disappear. Lord of Hell's first sentence stunned Wang Feng. So serious? Wang Feng recalled. That imposter didn't seem to be a big deal, not to mention that he was easily seen through. Your relationship tribulation is related to Bibidan because her soul was transformed from Bibidan's body. You can't see through it. Once you're bewitched, it's hard to break free. Even if you reacted because of my reminder, if you were one step late, for example, if you severed another shackle, it would mean that you failed the tribulation. However, you saw through it so quickly. She didn't expect. Is that so? Wang Feng felt a chill. He seemed to have passed a real tribulation unknowingly? What the F***ck? Passed it without feeling it at all. He broke out in a cold sweat. This feeling was like fighting monsters on the side of the road to level up and then accidentally killing a hidden big boss. It was quite sudden. Wang Fengxin was a little curious. He wondered what kind of existence the impostor of Lord of Hell was. And she did make a deal with me. Yan Qingjue said. The price, could it be that the yin-yang intersection origin has a side effect? Wang Feng suddenly asked. That's right. Yan Qingjue glanced at him. There is a side effect. What is it? Wang Fengxin tensed up. As the yang soul origin and the yin soul origin, once they start to cultivate this kind of will, it will deepen their feelings in each other's hearts. Then, they will slowly forget all the feelings of the opposite sex. Usually, for the strong, this is not a side effect, Yan Qingjue said slowly. As for me, after I get all the demonic qi in the shackles, I will give the yin soul origin that I cultivated to her and give it to Hu Liena. You can give this thing to her. Wang Feng was speechless. I am the incarnation of the heavenly Tao. Lord of Hell's soul is just my identity as a soul demon. Of course, I can give her my soul. To me, what is more important is the demonic qi in the shackles. Yan Qingjue said something that made Wang Feng speechless. I can give the yin soul origin to Hu Liena, but you can't give the yang soul origin that you cultivated to others. Yan Qingjue said something that made Wang Feng feel helpless. She knows this. Isn't this nonsense? If he gave it to others, wouldn't it be the same as wearing a green hat? But now, she was forcing him to give up the whole forest for a tree. She was taking drastic measures to deal with him. A universe-level life form was indeed not a joke. There was such a move waiting for him. Wang Feng gritted his teeth. Damn it. But at this moment, Wang Feng suddenly thought of something. Wait a minute. Chapter 1675. You said that when I cultivate the one qi into 3 pure ones and combine it with the initial wheel soul, I can cultivate the initial wheel soul in different time rivers of different world. Cultivating the yin-yang intersection origin with different yin souls. Doesn't that mean? Wang Fengxin was shocked. That's right. You thought of this. Yan Qingjue nodded slightly. She didn't expect you to cultivate such a special soul. I didn't expect it either. I only thought of it after I succeeded with you. This means that the side effects of the yin-yang intersection origin have no effect at all. When you asked, I wanted to tell you. But after thinking about it, since the side effects don't exist, I didn't say anything. No matter what, she still helped you. Wang Feng heaved a sigh of relief. He couldn't give up such a good forest. What a turn of events. Speaking of which, that big shot from the Crimson Divine Sky Fox clan failed again and again. I wonder if she would be furious, but as Yan Qingjue said, she did help me a lot. Who cares about her? I see. Wang Feng's face was emotionless as if he wasn't happy about it. What else do you want to ask? Yan Qingjue said, when you're ready, I will send you out of this place. Emotiance is in Douluo world now? Or in the divine world? Wang Feng asked. I don't know. He might be in one of them. Then let's go to the divine world first. Wang Feng squinted his eyes. That's Shi-Yu, it's time to interact with her. I suggest you go to the divine world too. She has something good that can help your soul to reconstruct a body. Yan Qingjue nodded. Divine world. 7 colored clouds floated in the sky, dazzling and resplendent. The radiance of the divine world still shone on the land. At this moment, divine world's king city, Faith Temple. I sensed it. I sensed the passageways of many plane worlds. I also sensed the passageways of Douluo world. Inside the temple, there was a burst of cheers. The gods were all excited. With these plane passageways, it meant that their gods had a foundation. Countless faith would gather into the divine radiance of the gods again. They would contribute to the divine world. However, as the god king of the god world and the pillar of the god world, Tang San couldn't bring himself to be happy. Ever since the dark devil world shook and caused the void element domain to shake, the dark devil world underwent a huge change. The news of Big Brother Feng dying after fighting with the mysterious ancestor devil of the dark devil world, Emotiance, spread. This was no different from a bolt from the blue. Tang San believed in Big Brother Feng's ability. There was a high probability that Big Brother Feng had created some kind of illusion. He was just waiting to accumulate strength and return. However, it was different this time. That was self-destruction. In fact, as soon as Ning Rongrong heard the news, her first reaction was to swear that Wang Feng was still alive. This must be an illusion. However, Xiao Wu said that although Rongrong said so, in fact, she didn't feel the longing in her heart. She didn't know how many nights she had cried secretly. His heart was probably filled with worry. Zhu Zhuqing originally wanted to rush directly to the Dark Devil world, but she was persuaded to stay. In the end, he had no choice but to be sealed by the combined efforts of several first-tier gods and Tang San. What a joke! How dangerous was the Dark Devil world now? If they let Zhu Zhuqing run over, wouldn't it be purely sending her to her death? Tang San had no choice but to say that to her, who had an unyielding temperament. Third brother, tell me. The Temple of Faith sensed the passageway to the lower realm. At this time, Xiao Wu suddenly said, could it be because of Big Brother Feng? These passageways are sealed by the Dark Devil world. It's good enough that Emo Tiance didn't come to our God world. It's impossible for him to open these passageways, right? But now, who can open these passageways in the Dark Devil world? Hearing this, Tang San suddenly froze. Don't say that. It makes sense. But Big Brother Feng isn't. Tang San hesitated for a moment. Even if Big Brother Feng isn't dead, how can he open the passageway at this time? This is too unbelievable. Xiao Wu giggled. Third brother, have you forgotten? Isn't Big Brother Feng's specialty the ability to make impossible things unbelievable? Tang San's body trembled. He suddenly recalled everything that happened in the past. It was indeed so. If that's the case, Tang San's pupils suddenly contracted. He shouted in a low voice, all gods, listen to my order. Return to your god positions immediately. Get ready for the war. Many gods didn't know what was going on. However, the deity king, Tang San, had extremely high prestige to them. Once the order was given, they immediately went to prepare. Third brother, what are you doing? Xiao Wu didn't understand. If Big Brother Feng is still alive and has opened these passageways, then, that Emo Tiance must have sensed that Big Brother Feng isn't dead. Tang San's eyes were cold. Since Big Brother Feng isn't dead, Emo Tiance must come to the God world to look for Big Brother Feng. He might even go to the Douluo world. As the deity king's leader on the surface, he was much more sensitive to such matters than Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu also reacted immediately. I will immediately inform Rongrong, Zhuqing, and the others. Also, contact the children in the Douluo world. Let them prepare early. Tang San nodded slightly. Seeing Xiao Wu leave in a hurry, Tang San's eyes were filled with worry. Emo Tiance, he wasn't an ordinary demon god. He was an existence that surpassed demon gods with the current number of gods in the god world. Even if they were multiplied a few times, they still wouldn't be a match for him. Maybe he could eliminate them with a flick of his finger. After all, even Big Brother Feng couldn't deal with an enemy. To be honest, Tang San didn't have much confidence. If necessary, we might have to abandon the god world. To preserve the strength of the god world. Tang San sighed in his heart. At this moment, a vast expanse of silver light could be seen from the horizon. It was an incomparably huge silver dragon. Her entire body was emitting a dazzling divine light. Her divine aura wasn't inferior to him, the deity king. However, the silver dragon's eyes had a hint of deathly stillness. And on the dragon's back sat a woman. If Wang Feng was here, he would definitely recognize that it was Silvermoon. The silver dragon was the embodiment of emotions and desires. They came here. Tang San leaped lightly and leaped into the sky to confront the silver dragon. Tang San, you look so calm now. That stinky guy, your brothers are all dead. Silvermoon wrinkled her nose and said, you can still be so calm. You really deserve to be the only deity king in the god world. He's not dead, Tang San said. Silvermoon narrowed her eyes slightly. The silver dragon suddenly opened her eyes and stared at Tang San. The deathly stillness in her eyes immediately dissipated by half. You must have guessed something by coming here, right? Tang San asked. Humph, you're smart. Silvermoon snorted softly and patted the silver dragon's back. My family's young miss sensed the passage to the Douluo world. Back then, she went to the god world with Wang Feng. The passage means that someone broke it in the dark demon world. It can only be Wang Feng, although the news that came was that he was already dead. Right now, the young miss has a hunch that that guy might come to the god world. Silvermoon giggled. I don't believe it, so I came to ask you and see the situation. But looking at your lineup, it's obvious that you want to deal with the great enemy that even Wang Feng in the dark demon world couldn't deal with. I don't think Wang Feng will come. Chapter 1676. So, you're here to help? Tang San understood Silvermoon's meaning. Of course. Who else could it be? Silvermoon glanced at the city lazily. Oh right, where's the evil dragon inside? His boss died and he didn't react? Tang San pondered for a moment. The evil dragon Silvermoon spoke of was Long Xie, a soul beast lackey Brother Feng took in the Douluo world. Later, he brought it to the divine world. The seal on the divine wall of the Forbidden Realm was unstable due to the tremors of the divine world. It contained the evil thoughts of countless gods from an era in the divine world. Once those evil thoughts were released, the divine world would never be at peace. Brother Feng should have been in the dark demon world at that time. Later, Long Xie, who was cultivating in the divine world, entered the divine wall of the Forbidden Realm because he was originally a strand of evil thought expelled from the dragon god's body. To prevent the seal from being broken, he entered the divine wall of the Forbidden Realm to devour the evil thoughts and cultivate. Until now, nothing had happened. The seal on the divine wall of the Forbidden Realm had not loosened. Not for now. Tang San shook his head. That's a pity. Silvermoon thought for a moment. If that evil dragon can really absorb the evil thoughts sealed in the divine wall of the Forbidden Realm, its strength should be on par with yours, Tang San. It might even surpass you. Tang San smiled awkwardly. It wasn't impossible. After all, the evil thoughts of countless gods were sealed in the divine wall of the Forbidden Realm. If it could really absorb them, who knew what kind of strength it would reach? But who knew what kind of life form it would become? Could that Long Xie still be Long Xie? Tang San expressed his doubts. Then, God King Tang San, have you sensed Wang Feng's aura in the divine world? Silvermoon asked. She glanced at Tang San's expression and waved her hand. Forget it. Judging by your expression, I'm sure you haven't sensed anything. Tang San. As the God King of the divine world, he could sense any changes in the divine world. He thought for a moment. There's a place in the divine world that I can't sense. Where? The Sea of Samsara. Silvermoon thought for a moment. This was the most mysterious place in the God realm. It was normal that Tang San could not sense it. At this moment, the silver dragon suddenly looked into the distance. There, a pitch-black arc of light broke through the colorful clouds of the God realm. In an instant, Tang San felt a huge pressure in his mind that he could not resist. He looked into the distance in horror and squeezed out 2 words. He's here. Divine World, Reincarnation Sea. The golden reincarnation sea remained unchanged for 10,000 years. There were no waves on the sparkling surface of the sea, but it seemed to reflect the reincarnation of the world. In the middle, Shiyu's figure was like a graceful swan, moving on the surface of the sea like a fleeting shadow. Her toes, which were as white as jade, only left behind ripples that rippled in this world where only she existed. The scenery was stunning and her mood was limitless, but no one appreciated it. As if she was tired from walking, she stopped. Her plain white dress drew a perfect curve on her body as she suddenly stopped. Emotiance is here. Are you still not done on your side? She frowned slightly and seemed a little worried. This Emotiance is still a devil consciousness clone. Not only did he come to the God realm, but he also went to the Douluo world. It seems like he's determined to find you. This guy can cultivate to a universe-level life form with an incomplete universe will. He even obtained the will of the universe galaxy by chance. Yan Qingjue, you really nurtured an incredible monster back then. Shiyu shook her head. The opening of the Douluo passage means that the sixth shackle of your eternal God Palace should have been severed by Wang Feng, right? But even if Wang Feng can sever all the shackles, he might not be able to defeat the current Emotiance. It's all karma after all. Fate is unpredictable. She let out a long sigh and looked at the pitch-black shadow that suddenly appeared in the sea of samsara. She knew that Emotiance had come to the God realm. It wasn't fast, but it wasn't slow either. If he came quickly, the God realm would not have enough people, and he would not be able to catch everyone in one fell swoop. If he came slowly, there would be other variables, and it would be unnecessary trouble for him. Right now, the passage to the God realm was open. Emotiance came at this time to confirm that Wang Feng had gone to the soul region of the Dark Devil world and severed the remaining shackles that he did not manage to sever back then. Back then, in order to guide Wang Feng to the Dark Devil world, Yan Qingjue sealed the passage between the Douluo world and the God realm in those shackles after the God realm war. An app was broadcasted, an app that could perfectly replicate the old version of the Book Chaser artifact. Yan Qingjue was probably afraid of being tricked by Emotiance. She had no choice but to make this layer of insurance so that Wang Feng could successfully come to the Dark Devil world and sever those shackles. Shiyu curled her palms slightly and condensed a golden chess piece. She pointed at the spot where the black spot appeared in the sea of samsara. Boundless ripples appeared. But soon, the chess piece was swallowed by the black spot. She shook her head. When the God realm fell, Emotiance would probably tear through the void domain and come here. When that time came, she would be inviting trouble for herself. Shiyu was a little anxious when she thought of this. They should still be trying to sever the remaining shackles right now, right? Back then, Emotiance took more than half a year to sever the third shackle in the soul world. Shiyu realized that there wasn't enough time. After the remaining 6 shackles are severed, even if Wang Feng has that Universe Saint weapon, it is still incomplete. Furthermore, his soul is very weak. I don't know how long it will take, but Emotiance had already made his move. With Emotiance's scheming mind, he will capture Wang Feng's relatives and kill them in the Dark Devil world. Then, the souls of his relatives will appear in the soul domain of the Dark Devil world. When Wang Feng finds out, he won't be able to control himself. How would he have the ability to sever the remaining shackles? The more Shiyu thought about it, the more terrified she felt. Furthermore, if Emotiance killed them slowly, he would kill them one by one. Then, Wang Feng wouldn't be able to stay in the soul world forever. He would definitely ask Yan Qingjue to let him out. They could easily force Wang Feng out of the soul world. Shiyu shuddered when she thought of this. The soul world was a very special place. That universe God palace was extraordinary. On the surface, it was suppressing the well of reincarnation. In fact, it was to prevent other universe-level life forms from having designs on the well of reincarnation. Emotiance was also a universe-level life form. However, if he wanted to break free from the universe's reincarnation willpower, he could go to the soul world, but his cultivation would be greatly damaged. This wasn't something he could bear, as he had just become a universe-level life form. After thinking for a long time, Shiyu started to feel frustrated. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded. "Do you have so little confidence in me?" This voice was frivolous and familiar. Shiyu didn't even need to think to know who it was. She turned around and saw a figure slowly rising from the sea of reincarnation. It was Wang Feng. Why are you here? She asked subconsciously. No, did Yen Qingjue ask you to come here? The well of reincarnation and the reincarnation ocean belonged to the other side of the universe's reincarnation. The only person who could come here was Yen Qingjue. Chapter 1677. What else? Wang Feng looked at Shiyu. It had been a long time since they last met, but this Genesis divinity source of the God world was still as beautiful as ever. It was so beautiful that it shook one's soul and was unparalleled in this world. But you, Shiyu looked at Wang Feng blankly. He came here? Shouldn't he still be in the dark demon world helping Yen Qingjue break the shackles of the eternal God Palace? Unexpected? Wang Feng looked at her with amusement. Forget it, it's boring. Let's just lay our cards on the table. Yen Qingjue has basically told me everything. Shiyu's role in this situation was actually very interesting. She was different from Yen Qingjue. She wasn't a system, but she was Yen Qingjue's observer. She observed Wang Feng's movements in the Douluo world. At the same time, she was indebted to the Origin Calamity God King. She had more special feelings for Wang Feng, the person chosen by the Origin Calamity God King's soul. She was very clear about many of Wang Feng's experiences in the Douluo world. Hence, when she came to the Douluo world as the Shi Douluo, she came into contact with Wang Feng personally. Although she wasn't a system and didn't help Wang Feng that much, Wang Feng knew that in many key areas, she was slightly more important than Yen Qingjue. Even if it was because of her relationship with the Origin Calamity God King, she was different from Yen Qingjue. Shiyu looked at Wang Feng's soul form in shock. What are you doing here? With your current soul form, you can't beat Mo Tiance at all. Since you know, shouldn't you still be in the soul world? What did Yen Qingjue mean by sending you here? Wait, could it be that you? Yes, I have broken all 6 shackles. Wang Feng said simply. She opened her mouth slightly, obviously in disbelief. Logically speaking, this was obviously impossible. Let's talk about the rest later. Wang Feng pondered for a moment. Now let me ask you a question. What is it? Which world did Qian Rinxue go to? Shiyu was stunned for a moment. You're just asking this? What else? I know about the relationship between you and Yen Qingjue. Wang Feng glanced at Shiyu. You don't have many secrets in front of me. If I don't ask this, then what should I ask? Shiyu suddenly felt a little dazed. Although Wang Feng was only in his soul form, his aura was much more majestic than the last time they met in his physical form. It was just a soul, but as it spoke, it imperceptibly emitted a powerful aura. It was just like the Origin Tribulation God King of the past. Perhaps their strength was much weaker, but their demeanor and aura were somewhat similar. Just as Shiyu was about to speak, Wang Feng suddenly spoke up. You don't have to say anything. Let me ask you, did she reincarnate from the Sea of Reincarnation to the Angel Nebula in another universe? How did you know? Shiyu looked at Wang Feng in surprise. After receiving Shiyu's affirmation, Wang Feng was completely sure that the Heaven Cultivation King, Angel Maple, was Qian Rinxue. He heaved a huge sigh of relief. Heh! Wang Feng stepped forward and looked at Shiyu with a faint smile. Why don't you guess? Shiyu subconsciously took 2 steps back, frowned slightly, and said impatiently, Wang Feng, since you already know, I won't hide it from you. What do you want to do here? You've severed those 6 shackles, and Yen Qingjue has already taken control of the Well of Reincarnation. You should immediately go to the God Realm or Douluo world and leave with your family, friends, and confidants. You still have a heavy responsibility, so you should leave. Wang Fengxin was slightly shaken. Although Shiyu spoke impatiently, he knew that this was actually a form of protection. The so-called heavy responsibility must be the Origin Tribulation God King's heavy responsibility to rebuild the Chaos world. But in reality, if he really did that, Emotiance would definitely not let the god realm off easily. Since I'm here, how can I leave? Wang Feng shook his head, thought for a moment, and said, Yan Qingjue said that you have a way to reconstruct the body. What is it? Suddenly it was unexpected. Shi Yu's expression changed, and her flawless face blushed a little. Why did Yan Qingjue tell you this? Shi Yu said calmly, Don't you have an even stronger main body in Douluo world? There's no need to reconstruct the body. After you control the main body, you can reconstruct as many bodies as you want. Why do you need to find me here? Shi Yu's change naturally did not escape Wang Feng's eyes. His heart was moved. Tell me first, do you have it here? Yes. Shi Yu nodded in the end. What's the method? Wang Feng asked. You don't have to care about this. Shi Yu looked as though she refused to answer. All right then. Wang Feng thought for a moment, and told Shi Yu about his experience in the soul world. So, you came here. Shi Yu gritted her teeth and said, You want to use this split soul of yours to cultivate the yin-yang fusion origin with me, and absorb the essence of time in the God Realm's river of time to cultivate the second origin wheel soul? And then deal with emotiance? That's right. Wang Feng was a little embarrassed. In fact, although this idea was suggested by Yan Qingjue, he had thought of it long ago. But he was a man, and it was not good to say what was in his mind. After thinking for a moment, Wang Feng said, Cultivating the yin-yang fusion origin doesn't require a soul. When Yan Qingjue and I cultivated, we cultivated from a distance. At most, we could see each other's experiences. Speaking of this, Wang Feng was a little proud. Moreover, I have experience this time. Our souls don't need to touch each other, and I can open my mind without any method. Shi Yu, are you proud of having experience? What a scumbag! Yan Qingjue, are you trying to drag me down with you? Shi Yu said angrily to the void, You're really my good sister. Your sisters? Wang Feng was shocked. Yan Qingjue didn't have this in her experience. She didn't mention this either. She only said that she and Shi Yu were in a cooperative relationship. Then interesting. Wang Feng coughed a few times. Logically speaking, he didn't have much affection for Yan Qingjue and Shi Yu. If he had to say, he had some admiration for Shi Yu. After all, her appearance was indeed extraordinary. In Wang Feng's memory, no one could beat Shi Yu's appearance. She was also very big. Of course, Wang Feng felt that he had enough female confidants now. Most importantly, he had feelings for them. After all, being big was just a hobby. Feelings were the foundation. Well, if you refuse, then forget it, Wang Feng said after thinking for a moment. His main soul could still find Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong to cultivate the yin-yang fusion origin. But the worlds they controlled were all small planes, and definitely couldn't be compared to the divine realm. When they cultivated the initial wheel, the soul would be much weaker than the main soul. But cultivating the yin-yang fusion origin with them would allow him to have true spiritual intercourse. Compared to Yan Qingjue and Shi Yu, it was much better. But the chances of winning against emotiance would be lower, and the danger would be greater. Shi Yu stared at Wang Feng for a long time before saying coldly, I want to refuse. What do you mean by that? Chapter 1678. Reject. Shi Yu couldn't help but laugh. To be honest, her smile was very beautiful, but Wang Feng didn't feel good about it. What are you laughing at? Wang Feng asked. Of course, I can reject, but the price is the fall of the divine world. Shi Yu snorted. Yan Qingjue knew this, which is why she sent you here first. I don't think so. Even if you reject, I can also. Wang Feng thought about it. You're cultivating the yin-yang symbiotic origin with your other two soulmates? Yes, you can, but the initial wheel soul that you cultivate is far weaker than your main soul. This isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is that they can't help your initial wheel soul reconstruct a body that is compatible with it. Shi Yu said indifferently. Without a body as a medium, it will be hard for you to use your strength in the divine world. You will most likely lose against emotiants. The divine world will definitely fall. When the divine world falls, I won't disappear, but I will return to silence and fall into the endless darkness. I will wait for the next moment when the primordial chaos opens. This. Wang Feng thought for a few seconds. He realized that Shiyu was right. However, then Wang Feng looked at her. He was actually more curious about how to reconstruct a body, or a body that was compatible with the initial wheel soul. Shiyu didn't say anything, as though she was holding it in. After a long time, when the black spot in the center of the reincarnation sea was getting bigger and bigger, she couldn't help but say, "I agree. But you have to agree to a few conditions." Wang Feng frowned and said, "Cultivating the yin-yang intersection origin is a mutually beneficial thing. Why should I agree to a few conditions? If you cultivate the yin-yang intersection origin, it will also strengthen your soul-spirit energy. It will be helpful to you too, right? Cultivating this origin isn't just a one-sided demand. Moreover, this is just a transaction. There are no emotions involved. Moreover, Yen Qingju is able to transfer the yin soul origin that she cultivated. If you feel that the yin soul origin that you cultivated is an obstacle to you, you can also transfer it directly." As he spoke, Wang Feng noticed that Shiyu's expression was a little bad. He stopped. "It seems that Yen Qingjue has not explained it clearly to you," Shiyu said faintly. "You are right. If it is just cultivating the yin-yang symbiotic origin to help you cultivate the origin wheel, then the origin wheel will be the soul. This is nothing. The most important thing is to help you reforge a body that is compatible with you." Shiyu took 2 steps forward, her figure light and graceful, but she still left circles of ripples on the surface of the sea. She gently raised her hand and scooped up a strand of seawater. The golden seawater flowed along her jade-like fingers and gradually dripped onto the surface of the sea, splashing up little waves. Back then, the reincarnation sea also had a will palace like the one outside the reincarnation well. It had 9 shackles in total. Origin Tribulation Deity King helped me sever these 9 shackles in the God world, and I obtained the cosmic purple chi that contained the will of the universe. Did you know that the me from back then was different from how I am now? Shiyu closed her eyes. At that time, the Genesis Mana was only a body of consciousness. At most, he could only transform into a human form. But now, she watched as the seawater dripped from his hand. "It's a real body?" "That's right." Shiyu turned around and looked at Wang Feng. "It's true that we are the heavenly Tao, but special existences like the heavenly Tao cannot have a physical body. Although Yen Qingjue has the title of Yama Lord in the Dark Demon world, she does not have a real body." Hearing this, Wang Feng was slightly stunned. There was such a thing? The heavenly Tao does not exist in the scale of the universe and does not belong to any life. Naturally, it is impossible for us to have a physical body. Once we have a physical body and become a real life, we will definitely be involved in the reincarnation of the universe. What kind of heavenly Tao is that? Vaguely, Wang Feng seemed to understand something. So, these palaces are a gift and also a test for us. The shackles on the palaces contain the cosmic purple chi. This cosmic purple chi contains a special will of the universe. Once gathered, it will form a complete will of the universe. This will of the universe is called the reincarnation heavenly embryo, also known as the heavenly embryo will. Comprehending, cultivating, and fusing with the power of the world's origin can directly nurture the body of a universe-level life. This allows the heavenly Tao to become a real life form, and directly become a universe-level life form. Wang Feng's pupils contracted. Moreover, once the heavenly embryo will forms a physical body, our souls will never disappear. They will only be divided into countless tiny cosmic particles and scattered in the universe. Eventually, our souls will be reborn and our bodies will be reconstructed. This is the greatest opportunity for the heavenly Tao. Wang Feng understood. He suddenly remembered that when he was in the soul world and collecting the demonic soul of demon god Huang Hai, he had met a wisp of his soul on the island of Kanglan Star. At that time, demon god Huang Hai's wisp of soul had disintegrated his own demonic soul and fused an origin called Guiyuan into the disintegrated demonic soul. This allowed all the human souls on the island to cultivate a kind of soul crystal core. At that time, Wang Feng had thought that the Guiyuan origin was indeed powerful. It was very close to the survival method of a universe-level lifeform. It should have been comprehended by demon god Huang Hai from the demonic qi. It turned out that whether it was the reincarnation sea or the reincarnation well, the will of the universe in the 9 shackles of the palaces was the heavenly embryo will. A powerful will that could condense the body of a universe-level life form. You have a body now. Have you succeeded in cultivating it? Wang Feng asked. Not yet. But soon. If I were to help you condense a body, I would have to use the heavenly embryo will that I have cultivated for many years. Shiyu looked at her reflection in the water. Also, I would have to share at least half of it with you. Although you helped Yan Qingjue to sever the remaining 6 shackles, her heavenly embryo will was incomplete. 2 streaks of purple gas were taken by Mo Tiance. She was already having trouble cultivating the heavenly embryo will. Naturally, she would not be able to help you condense a body that is compatible with the soul of your initial wheel. So she handed this problem to me. She even wanted to drag me down with the yin-yang intersection origin. Shiyu gritted her teeth. She knows that I possess the complete will of the heavenly embryo. Now that we're facing such a crisis in the God realm, and you're the reincarnation of the origin tribulation God King's soul, I owe him a debt of gratitude. I can't not return it. How could I refuse? This Yan Qingjue was really calculative. Wang Fengxin thought to himself. You don't have to make it sound so bad. Drag me down. Wang Feng forced himself to say, I don't think I am that bad. Humph. Shiyu rolled her eyes. I am more familiar with you than Yan Qingjue. I saw everything that happened to you in the Douluo world. Everything that Yan Qingjue saw was told to you by me. You aren't bad, but... She looked at Wang Feng as though she was looking at a scumbag. What conditions do you have? Tell me. Wang Feng said without changing his expression. Shiyu was silent for a long time. She thought for a while and finally shook her head. Forget it. Wang Feng didn't understand. What was wrong with this woman? She just said that she had conditions, but now she didn't? Because of that, he still felt bad about it. Wang Feng was shocked. He looked at Shiyu. Damn, she is really good. Let's begin. Shiyu said indifferently. Okay. Wang Feng didn't refuse. He knew that Mo Tiance had already arrived in the divine world. There was no time for him to hesitate. Shiyu waved her hand. In an instant, the river of time that Wang Feng saw on the Star Soul Road appeared in the sky again. It was like a painting without a beginning or end, floating by. Chapter 1679. Wang Feng was already very experienced in cultivating the yin-yang symbiotic origin. He knew that this endless scroll was the God World's river of time. You have already shown me part of the God World's river of time on the Star Soul Road. You should be familiar with it, right? Shiyu said. Wang Feng nodded. Not only was he familiar with it, but he was also familiar with it. Then let's begin. First, cultivate the soul of the origin wheel, then cultivate the yin-yang fusion origin with me. A sly look flashed across Shiyu's eyes. Oh right, my soul is in this God World's river of time. With that, she disappeared. Question mark. Several question marks appeared in Wang Feng's mind. What she means is that you need to find her soul in the river of time for her to cultivate the yin-yang fusion origin with you. At this moment, a voice rang out from his soul. It was Yan Qingjue's voice. Is this considered a problem from her? Wang Feng asked. Sort of. Yu is different from me. You are my target, but not her. Strictly speaking, she has no obligation to give up too much for you. Yan Qingjue replied. Wang Feng thought about it and felt that it made sense. Yu had the complete will of the heavenly embryo and was only one step away from becoming a universe-level lifeform. Now that she had to split half of this will to create a physical body for him, she would have to pay a huge price. Hurry up. Mo Tiance has already made his move in the God world and the Douluo world. Yan Qingjue's voice rang out again. Wang Feng nodded slightly and turned into a beam of light, entering the endless river of time. Douluo God world, Imperial City. The majestic demonic figure descended, causing the colorful sky of the God world to turn dark and gloomy. It was as if the sun had disappeared. Only the Imperial City had some light. Even Yama's palm wasn't this powerful. This Mo Tiance. Tang San stood at the highest point of the Imperial City, on the steeple of the Temple of Faith. He looked at the demonic figure in the distance with worry in his heart. Below the Temple of Faith, all the gods gathered. Every one of them stood on a circular platform floating in the air, divine power boiling in their hands. The enemy was before them. This time, God King Tang San was naturally much more experienced than last time. Most importantly, the God realm had obtained plenty of magical machine technology from the dark demon world and the civilizations of other worlds. What he was using now was a large-scale divine power conversion formation that could convert and blend divine power without any loss. It could transfer the divine power of even the lowest-ranked heavenly official of the God realm to Tang San without any loss. Even though the Dark Devil realm was a great enemy of our divine realm back then, I have to admit that their development over there is very good. As Tang San sensed the surging divine power flowing into his body, light burst out from his body, and 9 colorful divine halos rose from his body. If I had such a technique when the Imperial Demon Army attacked, I would have been able to easily take on the Lord of Hell's palm. Tang San shook his head. Saying this after the fact was naturally somewhat laughable. However, this also proved that the current divine realm was much stronger than before. In terms of other things, just this God King alone was already stronger than before. That's right. You're the only one left in the divine realm committee. It's not easy to reach this level. On the other side, Silvermoon smiled as she spoke from the back of the massive silver dragon in the sky. To be able to compare with Milady. I'm ashamed, Tang San said. The silver dragon possessed the dragon god's origin and even had the dragon god's blood essence. Moreover, it should have had a close relationship with Feng. It was normal for it to have its current power. Alright, I'm going to merge with Milady as well. Otherwise, I won't be able to unleash my full power, Silvermoon said with a serious expression. Silvermoon suddenly said with a serious expression, even so, we might not be able to withstand more than a few moves from Mo Tiance. Let's try to stall for time. Having said that, she turned into a flash of silver light and merged with the silver dragon beneath her feet. Roar. The silver dragon let out a soft roar. Like light and mist, its majestic divine power shot straight into the clouds. Tang San wasn't too sure about the actual relationship between Silvermoon and the Silver Dragon. He only knew that the difference between the two was the ego and the ego. It was also possible that Silvermoon was the consciousness of the Silver Dragon. Silvermoon wasn't very strong, but after fusing with the Silver Dragon, there was a special fusion. He could see that the center of the Silver Dragon's eyes had a tinge of red. Although the Silver Dragon was powerful, it looked calm, indifferent, and didn't seem to be aggressive. However, the current Silver Dragon seemed to be full of aggressiveness and was emitting a stronger sense of power. Tang San looked down, and the demon Azura sword that was floating in midair suddenly shot out a beam of light. The beam of light turned into Xiao Wu and stood beside Tang San. "Third brother, this emotiance is very cunning," Xiao Wu said softly. "My daughter sent news that the Douluo world sky has been torn open. It seems like emotiance has appeared too. Emotiance's consciousness clone is planning to appear in both the Douluo world and the God realm at the same time. He's planning to wipe us all out in one go. But this way, he won't be able to unleash his full strength." Tang San thought for a while. Perhaps this is also a chance for us to stall him for a while. Furthermore, in order to lure Brother Feng out, he probably won't start a massacre in the God realm and Douluo world. Xiao Wu nodded slightly. "I've sent a group of gods to the Douluo world. Currently, the only ones who are close to Brother Feng in the Douluo world are that group of soul beasts and a few special children. You're asking Rongrong, Zhuqing, Mu Bai, Oscar, and the rest to go down, right?" Tang San asked. "Yes. That's good too." Tang San lowered his head slightly. "It's good for them to go. After all, they are the most familiar with the Douluo world." Suddenly, a crescent shadow appeared in the sky above the divine world. That was the Milky Way. It was the image of the Milky Way. Even though it was just an image, a powerful will pressure came down from above in an instant. Tang San felt his divine soul tremble, and his body couldn't move at all. At the same time, an indifferent voice sounded. "You want to stop me with just you guys? It's ridiculous." In the long river of time, Wang Feng's soul was swimming in it. From the beginning, his soul swam to the beginning of the God realm. This was interesting. Wang Feng saw the birth of the God realm. The God realm was created by a universe-level life form, which was the god of creation of the God realm. It wasn't purely born slowly in the universe, creating a world, not to mention universe-level life forms. Even demon gods and godly kings could do it. However, the most time-consuming thing to create a world was time. The formation of a world required a long time to evolve, and eventually form all kinds of life forms, and finally form a civilization. Of course, as the strongest in the universe, he could speed up. As long as he threw some civilization seeds in this world, he could accelerate the speed of evolution. And this god of creation of the God realm was very lazy. After he created the God realm, he didn't care much. The 5 origin seeds that established the basic rules of the God realm were the embryonic forms of the 5 godly kings. From the long river of time in the God realm, Wang Feng saw the beginning of the God realm's creation, until the 5 origin seeds became the first batch of life forms. Until the various changes now. In this long river, Wang Feng swam to his heart's content, and every scene could be seen clearly. For example, the scene of the Dragon God War, including the dragon gods split into 2 great origins, the Golden Dragon King and the Silver Dragon. The history of the God realm was long, and it wasn't any worse than the Dark Demon realm. The difference was that Shi Yu and Yan Qingjue were the 2 heavenly Dao. Because the God realm was created by the strongest, it was born with the 5 great origins as the world's rules. The Dark Demon realm was born on its own, and it was naturally much weaker. It relied on the help of Yan Qingjue's heavenly Dao to cultivate emotiance, and finally integrated the Dark Demon realm, making it comparable to the God realm. One was like a grassroots, slowly rising up. The other was born as an elite, calling for a golden spoon. Most importantly, Shi Yu, the heavenly Dao, was more of a Buddhist. Even in a place like the Void Domain, she didn't think of conquering and plundering other worlds. Most of the time, she relied on gentle methods to obtain the power of faith. And she didn't expand. This was very different from Yan Qingjue, the Dark Demon realm's heavenly Dao. Wang Feng, who was absorbing the essence of the long river of time, found it very interesting. How did these 2 heavenly Dao incarnations with different personalities and ideologies work together? Before the 2 God Wars, they obviously didn't work together. According to Yan Qingjue, after the two God Wars, Shi and Shi Yu were both heavenly Tao, and they appreciated each other, so they worked together. It was also said that Shi Yu herself wanted to make the God realm stronger. Chapter 1680. Wang Feng felt that the connection between the heavenly Tao could not be explained clearly, but it was all for the sake of breaking through to become a universe-level lifeform, surviving the Genesis wheel and becoming stronger. Thinking of this, Wang Feng sighed softly. As he slowly absorbed the essence of the long river of time in the God world, his soul began to become illusory. Countless time symbols appeared on his body, like a clock of the great Tao, mysterious and unfathomable. It was as if countless years had passed with a glance. The Genesis wheel soul was formed. Next, it was time to cultivate the yin-yang origin with Shi Yu's soul. That's right, where is Shi Yu's soul? Wang Feng suddenly woke up. Her soul was in the long river of time. But when he swam through every corner of the long river of time, he did not seem to notice it. I almost missed it. Wang Feng immediately stopped in the long river of time and quickly sensed. However, no matter how he sensed, he could not sense Shi Yu's soul. She is the heavenly Tao of the God world, hiding her soul in the long river of time. Even I can't sense it clearly, Wang Feng thought. But if that was the case, then he was underestimating his Genesis wheel soul too much. The Genesis wheel soul had all kinds of mysteries. Once cultivated, it could change the direction of the long river of time, even in the God world. Shi Yu hid her soul in the long river of time, which would definitely cause subtle changes in the long river of time. Even if it was the slightest change, Wang Feng could find it. Holding his breath, the Genesis wheel soul turned into a long needle, spinning rapidly in the long river of time. Looking for subtle changes in the long river of time. Suddenly, Wang Feng felt that something interesting was happening. Around the time when the origin tribulation deity king disappeared and transformed into two deities, he sensed a subtle change, and the change was on one of the gods. Wang Feng knew that origin tribulation deity king's origin had turned into two different gods in the God world. The first was Di, who was the first six-winged dark angel in the God world. After falling into the God world, he was also called the 12-winged dark angel. The second was the first six-winged angel god. But interestingly, according to Wang Feng's knowledge, the history of the Douluo world was that the angel god was a powerhouse in the Douluo world. He became an angel god and ascended to the God world. In other words, the first angel god did not come from the God world. He came from the Douluo world. Just like the sea god, he became a god and ascended to the God world. Wouldn't that be a contradiction? Wang Feng had always had doubts about this. However, because most of his attention was on demon god Dai, he did not think too deeply. At this moment, Wang Feng arrived at this timeline. The initial wheel time soul turned into a ray of light and entered the time axis. In the blink of an eye, the light in the surroundings was annihilated and reformed, finally converging here. Wang Feng's soul arrived at the reincarnation sea of the God world where the origin tribulation God King had died. Light and shadow intertwined. Light and darkness soared into the sky like yin and yang, forming a huge pillar of qi above the reincarnation sea. Wang Feng finally saw Shi Yu's soul. No, to be precise, it was the souls of two Shi Yus. One was inside the pillar of light. The other was outside the pillar of light. Wang Feng vaguely understood something. The soul in the pillar was well hidden. Wang Feng did not notice it when he was looking at the river of time. Now that he had come to this timeline and observed it from a close distance, he discovered it. Wang Feng walked over. You can really find it. Your primordial soul is indeed very powerful. Shi Yu suddenly turned around and looked at Wang Feng. Not bad. Wang Feng was silent for a moment. Is that your soul inside? What do you think? Shi Yu looked at Wang Feng with a smile that was not a smile. Could it be? Wang Feng frowned slightly. You are the same as Yan Qingjue, a manifestation of the heavenly Tao. Your soul entered the angel god that the origin tribulation God King transformed into? You are also an angel god of the god world? Thinking of this, Wang Feng was suddenly startled. Back in the Douluo world, he went to the angel illusion to help Qianrenxue. At that time, the angel god conveyed a lot of information to him and also had a short exchange. He also allowed him to get close to the 7 different tests of the angel god in the angel illusion, thus obtaining the 7 special powers of the angel god. After that, he could fuse with the 7 powers of the dark angel martial soul and become the origin tribulation God King's power. At that time, Wang Feng was quite puzzled. The power of the dark angel was clearly in conflict with the angel gods. Why did the angel god not only not kill him but also help him? Even if he really liked him, he had already inherited the Qianrenxue and couldn't change. Why did he help him so much? When he obtained the power of the 7 angel statues in the angel illusion, the angel god told him that he had to fuse these 14 powers and then condense the angel source core to become a supreme god. Now that he thought about it, the supreme god was probably all the power of the origin tribulation God King. How could an angel god know so much? Later, when Wang Feng talked with the 5 great God Kings, the 4 great God Kings only said that he had to fuse 14 powers and combine them with the new 6-winged angel god to become the origin tribulation God King. The 5 great God Kings didn't mention anything about the angel source core. Now that he thought about it, the 2 sides were obviously different. Of course, at that time, he didn't know so much and didn't know that the angel god was related to the origin tribulation God King, so he didn't think too much about it. Now that he saw she used soul in this pillar of light, he understood. The human with the power of an angel in the Douluo world is you? Wang Feng said in a deep voice. You were in the Douluo world to fuse with the origin tribulation God King's power? It seems that you understand. Shi Yu nodded slightly. Yes, the last trace of the origin tribulation God King's life force turned into the original appearance of the 2 gods. At the same time, the origin tribulation God King divided his power into 14 parts and injected them into the 2 life forces. In order to let this life force quickly adapt to the origin tribulation God King's life force, I had just obtained the will of the heavenly embryo and used it together. My soul entered this life force to help fuse. The best way to fuse with it is to use experience. After the second war of the gods, the divine realm was empty, so I descended into the Douluo world and controlled this body to gain experience. Finally, I used the method of self-proving and fused this life force with the 7 origins to ascend to the divine realm. I quietly waited for the origin tribulation God King's soul to reincarnate into the chosen one. Hearing this, Wang Fengxin's heart thumped. Then the angel clan in the Douluo world. It was left behind before I entered the divine realm. Shi Yu looked at Wang Feng with a faint smile. Wait! Wang Feng was stunned. Then didn't you have a man in the Douluo world a long time ago? Heh! Shi Yu's smile remained unchanged. That's right, otherwise how could I leave behind my inheritance? It can't be made out of thin air, right? So, you still plan to cultivate the yin-yang fusion origin with me? Oh, and in other words, according to seniority, the Qianrenxue has to call me ancestor. After saying that, she looked at Wang Feng with a strange expression. Wang Feng. Wang Fengxin's heart thumped. Damn, these heavenly Daos are not so simple. But in a hurry, Wang Feng seemed to have thought of something. Why not? Wang Feng glanced at Shi Yu. Not to mention that as the heavenly Tao, you have countless ways to leave behind your inheritance without having to marry a man in the mortal world. Even if you do, what does it have to do with me? We who cultivate the yin-yang origin can only be regarded as Tao seekers at most, and we don't need to have intercourse. At that time, you can even pass the yin soul origin that you cultivate to her. You and I didn't have many feelings before. You used this method to test me. To be honest, it didn't require much skill. Wang Feng looked at Shiyu with a smile. How did you know I was testing you? Shiyu said indifferently. The heavenly Tao is ruthless, high and mighty. You are still the heavenly Tao of the God realm, and at that time, you even controlled the will of the heavenly embryo. Can you take a fancy to a man in the mortal world? Wang Feng said without hesitation. I guess you left behind the angel inheritance in the Douluo world. Because you know, if the person chosen by the reincarnation of the Origin Tribulation Divine King wants to obtain the power of the Origin Tribulation Divine King, they have to marry the angel god that you have fused with. And you naturally have to break away from the identity of the angel god. Because you don't know whether the person chosen by the Origin Tribulation Divine King is male or female. But whether it is male or female, as the heavenly Tao of the God realm, you will not marry them. So, you left behind the inheritance of the angel bloodline. You can let the descendant who has the power of the angel bloodline inherit your identity as the angel god after countless years. This soul of yours will be able to break free. After saying that, Wang Feng looked at her. In order to break away from the identity of the angel god, Shiyu was not even willing to be the reincarnation of the Origin Tribulation Divine King. Naturally, it was impossible for her to marry a man in the mortal world. The current you is not ordinary smart. Shiyu shook her head and said slowly, You are right, but there is one thing you don't know. The angel I turned into in the Douluo world is in the image of a man, not a woman. Wang Feng was stunned, and only then did he remember that the angel god in the Elder Hall of the Martial Spirit Palace was indeed a man. Shiyu tilted her head slightly and looked at Wang Feng. Our heavenly Tao did not differentiate between men and women in the beginning. Later, I found that women were better. After returning to the God realm, I condensed this body with the will of the heavenly embryo. Wang Feng. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.